the end of time.
O'clock.
Well, hey everybody, what's going on? Hopefully you guys can hear us. Yeah, okay. I'm always like paranoid when the microphone shuts itself because it does sometimes. You know what I mean? But I was using it earlier today for all the work meetings, but it seems to be all right. So
hopefully y'all can hear me. I've been hearing some complaints that sometimes you can't hear what I'm saying.
You gotta project.
I thought a lot of people didn't want to hear what I was saying. They're like,
maybe not. Well, I thought it was weird because I always thought you had like a pretty loud voice.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, like I thought it would compensate that you were a little bit farther away.
Right.
But we did change the settings on the microphone.
Right. Yeah, it might be better.
So it might be a little bit better now. I'm not really sure because I don't watch them back, so I don't know what it sounds like.
So it's gonna be a good one. We're gonna do the El Paso Walmart shooting
from 2019.
Yeah.
I mean,
you guys still.
It's yet another depressing topic.
Yeah.
We always kind of do that. But the thing about it, I was thinking about this earlier today because I was thinking, man, we always do like these depressing topics, like about mass shootings and serial killers and stuff. But it's just like, I hate to say this, but doing shows about good people is kind of boring.
Yeah.
I mean, good people are awesome, like to hang out with, but not so much to talk about because they don't do anything vile or horrible. And vile and horrible shit is like funner to talk about. I hate to say that.
I remember when this happened. At the time, I thought it was just kind of another random event. Looking back on it, I think it was a big long chain of events, including that big old, what was that big Las Vegas shooting where they were shooting down inside that rock concert, and they all seemed to be kind of like the beginnings of like civil unrest inside the United States. To me, it always kind of looked fucking strange how it just started off like that. None of this shit looked spontaneous to me. It all looked like it was fucking had political backing, maybe foreign money involved, foreign intelligence agencies. There's no telling, but it looked like somebody was trying to start a civil war in this. They're like they were trying to start a race war. And then remember that, and then you had the shooting here in Sanford.
Yeah.
Where the neighborhood guard shot that one kid. What was his name? Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
And then overnight, there was fucking busloads of fucking political activists and social activists here from out of state to try to turn that into something. There's always money behind it. And this was one of them. Follow the money, you probably figured out what it is. But to me, all this shit looks suspicious. But we're going to talk about it.
Well, I don't know about that, but you know what I mean? Because a lot of these are kind of random, too.
They seem like it, but I don't know.
CB said, this motherfucker looks like he would pay a sex worker to put her toes in his mouth. Yeah, he does kind of look like that, doesn't he? Unfortunately, the dude is still alive.
Yeah.
You know. But he was like
this
young.
This is the one that was trying to stop Mexico from invading Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a likely story. Texas has been Mexican for centuries now.
That's what I thought was so dumb. I'm like, retard.
What the fuck is he talking about?
I know that's a terrible
Mexico, the creation of Mexico was a powerful kind of like German-American family and a powerful Spanish-Mexican family. It was a joint venture to help build that state and make it like one of the best fucking cattle industries in the fucking world. And that was how the Lone Star State was really during its genesis. It was more like a joint business operation between North America and Mexico. You know, so I don't know what this dude's talking about. So I was saying he must have not have been from there.
He was from Texas.
He was? We're going to get into that.
He wasn't from... Oh, but he was young.
Young and dumb.
He was only 21.
Dumb as fuck.
Yeah, he kind of seemed like an idiot, honestly. Yeah. And he had a manifesto and everything, which I kind of skimmed through.
Yeah, and we're in Florida now. And Florida was part of Spain. The whole South was either part of Spain or France or England. And it just changed hands several times. And then you had the Native Americans involved in it. And also kind of like the Mexican Empire, which involved, Spanish families and the end of the Mesoamerican Empire. They kind of blended in together, and there was just a joint business here. America and Mexico were always kind of like competitors, but they were never really enemies. even though we went at a war with them, and we really fucked the Mexicans over. The Mexican-American War was just one of the most unfair fucking wars of all times. We just overwhelmed them and took all the shit that they had claimed. Spain claimed it. Everybody claimed it. You know, back in those days, to prove that you owned something, you just had to take it. You know, because everybody claimed everything. France claimed all this too. You know, just didn't mean anything. Everybody's fucking maps were different. But it just had to be settled by combat.
Thank you very much. Zach gave us a super chat. Says, anyone else notice the mass shooter has kind of replaced the serial killer as being the thing crazy people do, so to speak? Yeah, it does seem like a lot more prevalent. It does seem like the serial killer thing was a lot more prevalent in the 70s and 80s, whereas the mass shooter thing, I kind of feel like that started kicking off. I mean, there were some before Columbine, but I kind of feel like Columbine was sort of like the big one that kicked it off.
No, one that stocked it up was fucking the 80s in California, the Stockton Massacre.
Yeah, but you don't hear about that as much anymore, though. I know, but like, I'm saying there were some before that, but I kind of feel like Columbine was like the highest profile one at a time, and it seemed like it's sort of
dude in the clock tower too.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah. And here's another thing: they're not new. There were mass shootings going back to the 1800s here.
Yeah, there were
1700s too.
Yeah, like
and massacres and all kinds of shit.
I mean, it's not good. I'm just saying that it's
just humans do it.
It's been going on a long time.
Yeah, this is just some shit humans do.
Unfortunately,
you're not going to be able to control it. The best way to control it is just get rid of all humans. But humans are fuck ups.
Well, I mean,
even China has this, and they have guns. England has this. They just do mass stabbings. And then if they got rid of all those knives, they'd realize that knives aren't very good weapons. Clubs are much better than knives. So you just have dudes with baseball bats running around bashing people. The knife is just a psychological thing. Knives are for pussies. They're not a very good weapon. It's a good tool, but they're not a very good weapon. A baseball bat's much better. Or a police baton, even better. But knives have some kind of flair to them. But they don't have any stopping power. It takes
I kind of feel
13,
like
14
largely,
stabs.
like I said, your serial killers and stuff like that that use knives use it for a specific purpose. They're not looking for stopping power necessarily.
You're right, yeah.
They just want like a penetrative weapon that lets them get up close and personal. And,
and it's kind of this sex thing.
Yeah, it's more like a psychological thing.
Yeah, they can't get it up and put it in you half the time, so they just put a blade in you. Because the dude can't perform. He can't really commit a rape. He can't get hard. Not while you're alive.
Yeah.
Because there's too much performance anxiety on him. So he just stabbed you.
But we've talked about this before, the pathology of serial killers, say, and the pathology of mass shooters or mass murderers. It's equally bad, but it's different. Like, the psychology seems a lot different. There's a lot of... Mass shooters seem to have a lot of anger. There's just kind of a lot of blaming of others for their own shortcomings. That seems to be a big one.
It's also a power fantasy.
That too.
They want to look like they're some kind of supervillain, or they want pictures of themselves doing it, and they dress up in gear and shit. They don't really care about body count. If they cared about sheer body count, a truck is a lot more effective. Just steal a truck or a car.
Well, I think they all just kind of want to be in a fucking video game.
They're on a video game, yeah.
And and the sad thing about it is that in a lot of ways they know that they'll get that too, because there's like a whole little subculture of little chuds over on 4chan and 8chan and stuff like that.
Laughing about
that
it.
That have like body count things and make like memes of these people like looking like saints in stained glass windows and all that kind of crap. Knock that shit off.
It's supposed to be funny, but it encourages them.
Yeah, like, it's not really funny. Like, and I'm kind of one of those people that it's just kind of like, I don't get too upset about just people making jokes about stuff, but it's just kind of like, that kind of shit, it's, I don't know, it's just not funny to me, but...
They're losers, they kind of want to live in meme world.
Yeah, that's the thing. And they think they're, like I said, they're just, I know it's an outdated term, but I mean, they're just like little edgelords that get off on... little power fantasies, because like I said, they're just little losers, which this guy was as well. Yeah. I mean, fucking hell. Phantom said, recently in the news there was an Asian chick walking the streets bloodstained and carrying a sword. Was she using it, or?
I've seen videos of in England, some chick walking down the street, little babies' heads in her hands. She was like a nanny that cut off a little baby's head. The people go crazy, do shit. China's really big on mass stabbings, and it's always some Chinese dude who lost his job. He's an incel, basically. 30s. But I think it's tend to be a little bit older than the United States than something that would happen in the U.S., like 30s or 40s. And they'll jump into a fucking preschool and stab 20, 30 kids, kill a lot of them. Yeah.
Which, like I said, I don't really understand, because a lot of these mass shooters in the U.S. kind of have a similar kind of mentality. And actually, that kind of mentality is more like, you see that in the U.S. with, like, family annihilators.
Yeah.
With, like, older guys like that, where it's like they lose their job or they lose their money or something. Well, gonna kill my whole family and kill other people at some random-ass store or some shit like that. I don't understand, one, why they think everyone else is to blame, like, just people that don't even know them are to blame for it. And two, like, what do they think that's going to accomplish? What is the end game? Are they even thinking of that? Or are they just completely... I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Which country exactly are you talking about?
Anywhere.
I think it's different in each country.
Maybe.
I think it's different. Each culture, it's a different thing. Like, when the Chinese dudes are stabbing the little kids in the daycares, they're trying to hit people where it hurts. So they're going for the smallest ones. That's part of it. Another part of it is that they don't have the physical strength or any kind of weaponry to go up against an adult. So kids are more vulnerable. If you look at the dudes, they don't weigh nothing, 120, 130 pounds, which that would be nothing here in the United States. But against a 90-pound Chinese woman, he's formidable, and against these little 20-pound kids, he could tear a bunch of them up, where he could kill more of those than he could adults.
Well, and what exactly... Okay, I understand intellectually. It's just kind of like, well, I'm going to pick on the kids because that'll make the most impact because everyone will be horrified.
Yeah.
But it's like, what, jumping off from that, like, what does he think that's going to get him?
It's okay. My take on it, and I listened to Serpent ZA. He was a South African guy who lived there for many years, married a Chinese chick who's a doctor. They live here in the United States now. And he did a whole video on him. And he said that he partially blamed the Chinese government because they would show that shit over and over again, which would actually just encourage more of it. So the next time that a fucking loser wanted to get attention, he'd go do the same thing. Nothing original, just get a knife and jump into the daycare and kill all the kids. And really, the FBI said the same thing back in the Stockton massacre when that guy shot up all those kids, the Japanese kids that were out in California. It was like a school that had a bunch of Japanese kids in it. The guy shot them all up with an AK-47 and I think it had a little bipod on the front of it. And the FBI told him, says, look, you shouldn't really be talking about this much or you'll have copycats. And it did. Certain crimes, this is back in the day too, certain crimes they would actually leave it out of the newspaper. All right? So no one would do it.
So no one would get any fucking ideas.
No one would get any ideas, yeah. And one of the things that there was like a federal law for quite a while that I think that started in the 60s, that any kind of bombings that would happen, they wouldn't report them at all. And this was happening in the 60s, and there was like several bombings a day for a few years.
That was a big thing back then.
It was a big thing, yeah. So they didn't report hardly any of those because
bombings and plane hijacking.
Yeah.
That seemed like that was really prevalent in the 60s and 70s. You don't really hear about it much
anymore.
Yeah,
you can diffuse it if you don't give it attention, because they're going to use it as a political tool.
The thing about it though is that now I kind of feel like that cat's out of the bag, because if somebody films it on their phone, then it's going to go viral and everyone's going to know about it, and then the news is going to be obligated to report on it because it's like it's everywhere, and it's going to look weird if they don't report on it.
What happens now is that there's so much news, everything swamps everything else.
Yeah.
So news is now ineffective. You can't use it as a tool of control like you used to be able to, because people realize now how much violence there actually is, and how many accidents there are a day. I was looking at a video. I guess it was just it was taken from Chicago. Black chick fell on the third rail of the train, and the dudes are taking picture of her. You don't. She'd already fallen, but you see her on the rails, and she's just smoking. It's real. I checked. I went when I was seeing, girl hit the third rail. The Google search brought up like 13 of those in the past couple of years. That's quite common.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. I kind of feel like, you know how sometimes when old people like talk about, oh, the good old days and that never happened back then and stuff like that. Oh, it absolutely did happen. It's just that you didn't hear about it.
Didn't know about it. Yeah.
Like, you heard about your local shit, and if something really egregious happened, it would be on the national news, but you didn't hear about all the shit that was going on all the time just because you didn't have the internet. You didn't have 24-hour news cycles. You didn't have any of that.
Now here's something else that's going to blow your mind, especially if you're foreign. If you were to look at all this fucking weird shit today and everything that's coming out, say, like on X, all this fucking cell phone cameras, it looks like the United States is fucking flying apart. Like it's just fucking... Here's the thing. You go back and check the records, it's peaceful compared to the way it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, statistically...
It's a fraction of what it used to be.
Statistically, the crime is way fucking lower.
Down. Yep.
It's just that you see more of it. Like I said, more shit was going on back then. You just didn't hear about it as much.
Yeah.
That's all.
And all this, like, gun violence and shit that horrifies foreigners. I've heard other foreigners who've lived here says, you know what, we've been here for years and haven't seen a single gun. Haven't seen anything. The place is fucking big. The United States is not.
Yeah, that's
Europe.
another thing
it's
that
fucking
you
huge.
have to. Yeah.
It's happening, but it's so spread out, you'll never see it.
I mean, hopefully you won't.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
other than all of these poor people that this chode shot.
Yeah. But it's just, it's very rare. You're more likely to be killed in a car wreck many times over.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that it's like, oh, think like it doesn't happen or anything, because it does, and it's like, and it's horrible and tragic when it happens.
Not as much
and
as you think it is.
Probably happens more than it obviously happens more than it should. But honestly, if you're gonna be afraid of something, be afraid of getting in your fucking car. Be careful and shit like that, because you are way more likely to get killed in a car wreck.
Yeah, getting rear-ended fucking on an on-ramp, or which that's happened to Chad.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of accidents. Thankfully, they were not bad, but yeah.
On a motorcycle, you're going to get T-boned going through an intersection. That's the most likely.
And you've wrecked your motorcycle, too, a couple of times.
Yeah, but wrecking a motorcycle, coming off a motorcycle is not deadly. What's deadly is contact with a car. The one that usually gets you is being T-boned in an intersection. Somebody runs a red light.
Well, yeah, why do you think I freak out like every time you go out? I try not to think about it, but...
Yeah, but I know where the danger zones are.
I know, but, you never know, some fucking
I never trust
might...
intersections. I'm always looking to see who's coming.
Yeah. You got to watch your ass, because people out there don't know what the fuck
stupid.
they're doing out there. It's Florida.
Some of them are on drugs.
They don't know where they're going. For real, we saw other day. And we forgot to mention this too.
This one. Yeah.
We were on our way to the movies. I think we were going to see Maxine. I think we were going to see Maxine. Middle of the fucking day. It was like 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Yep.
We're pulled up at a red light.
Well, hold on, no. I'm driving behind this truck.
That's right.
Huge, nice fucking 4x4. And he's going slow as fuck, and it's
he was
pissing
going
me
really
off.
slow.
I'm like, man, I wish I could get around this bitch. So I'm behind him for like 7 miles. I could never get around.
Because we were in a place where you can't pass.
Place where you couldn't pass. Two-lane highway, and it's a solid line. You can't pass.
And it's like super curvy.
We get up to the fucking light, and I go around him and pull up next to him and see who this bitch is fucking driving. And this dude's behind the wheel, and I see him pick up a full frosty fucking beer mug. A fucking beer mug. Glass beer mug. And the bitch was frosted. Filled a beer, and he just...
At 2 o'clock in the fucking afternoon.
That's right, yeah. He's got a
And I was like, we probably should have
mug.
called the cops, honestly.
Yeah. Drinking a fucking beer, not out of a fucking bottle, a mug.
Yeah.
Just driving like that.
This is America, damn it.
Yeah, America, damn it. Yeah. Fuck.
We totally should have called the cops. I was like, should we call the cops? I should call the cops. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get involved.
Nah, fuck that dude.
But seriously, it's just, we probably should have called the cops. I feel kind of bad about it now. But yeah, it was like I said, it was in the middle of the fucking day. I'm just like, oh, Florida.
It was a nice truck, too.
You so crazy.
That dude had money. It was a nice truck.
Well, yeah, the only reason we looked at him was because he was going slow as fuck. And we're like, what is the matter with you, man?
He's fucking holding that mug, driving.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was.
Pissed me off.
And
man.
Day drunk also.
Yeah.
And like I said, we was on this curvy 2-lane road where you can't pass.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck is he doing up there? Jerking off or what? God damn it. Yeah. I mean, I try not to get like aggro when I'm driving, because I kind of have the aggro driving gene from my dad, because he was like that too. And I really don't want to be like that, because it's like every time I rode with him in the car, God damn it. And it was like really stressful. So it's like, I try not to be like that, but it's hard sometimes because Florida is full of old people and they can't really drive.
We're in the state of Florida. And we were there for the Pulse shooting. nightclub shooting. We were out that night. That was just up the street from us. I left. I didn't have a good feeling about the place. Too many bad things happened, one after another, and I could feel hostility in the air. Fucking, we said, let's get out of here. Let's go. Left. And then that shooting happened. That's where the.
No, we were still there. We were out on the.
That's right. We didn't know until after.
We didn't know until after. We were out on the. Remember how they had like the little outside patio?
Yeah.
Like we were outside on the patio.
And then the whole time we were hanging out downtown. That was probably close to fucking 13, 14 years. Post nightclub shooting, which we weren't there. Dude shot up the back of the club, fucking trying to get in with a .22 pistol. Dude got so drunk. This is 2 clubs down. Couldn't leave the bar. Was standing there and fucking pulled a fucking pistol out, put it on the fucking bar, and stood there. They called the cops, and the cops showed up and shot the bartender. And that's the female bar. They shot her by accident. Fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And he got up, started walking, and then they just filled him full of lead. And he wasn't really wasn't threatening anybody. He just went into a fucking place that served alcohol with a firearm. You can't do that. And, he probably didn't have a carry concealed permit at that time. Florida now has constitutional carry. If you can legally purchase a firearm, you can carry it concealed legally. You can't take it into a place that serves alcohol. There's probably going to be some other stipulations too. You cannot brandish it. In other words, fucking just walk around with it in your hand out in public. You can't. It's called brandishing. That's a small fine, but they'll lock you up for it for a few hours. If you threaten somebody with it, though, that's aggravated assault. So that's different. There's a bunch of stipulations. You can legally do it, but you got to know all the rules. Strangely enough, in this state, you can't carry it holstered on the outside. It's called open carry. You can't do that here. In other states, you can, but you can't carry it concealed. So it's kind of weird. Although most of the lawyers here said that they should be able to get open carry too. Now, here's some other stipulations. You can carry it concealed or open on your own property. So that's no problem. Because a lot of guys have farms and shit. You'll see them run around four-wheelers with rifle or pistol, because they're secure in their own land. There's not enough cops to fucking watch your back in Florida. The population density isn't high enough. So each person is kind of like their own security, especially in rural areas. But most people don't fuck with you in rural areas.
Okay,
most people don't fuck with you.
Way behind on messages.
Okay.
We got another super chat from Zach like a long time ago. Sorry.
What do you say?
Show about the history of 4chan would be super interesting. Yeah, it
it
might
would
be
be,
actually.
yeah.
And Phantom earlier said we should do a show about Anders Breivik, which
Yeah.
this guy was partially inspired by that motherfucker.
That was a good one.
I can't find my pen. Can you go over there and see find me a pen and a piece of paper or something like that?
That guy was
So I can write this shit down.
self-styled commando.
But
I don't know where I don't see.
there's pens over there. Just feel around. I swear to God, there's pens. Or there's a box of pens like right there. Like I had one over here earlier, but
I don't see any pens.
okay, never mind. I'll get it.
Yeah, you get it.
Here. There's a whole box of them. Right
Look at her chiding me. I didn't see anything. I can't see anything. All right. I can't see anything there.
Pens everywhere.
That's your shit. How would I know?
And there's one right there on the desk.
I couldn't see it.
I said feel around. All right, so history of 4chan, because I got to put up a new poll. And then, I was thinking about Anders Breivik because...
Yeah, he did an impressive little mission.
Because this guy was partially inspired by him. Not as much as he was by the Christchurch shooting, but that was his big thing. But yeah. All right, so let me catch up with everybody. They're talking about bike riders. Tammy said she liked the movie, but she hated the ending. Let's see. CB said, I saw in the FBI files a guy failed to get control of a woman and she got away from him, so he took a child. Yeah, that'll happen. Going after somebody like smaller and weaker. That tracks. And let me see. Camp Guy said, I've been shocked before and it's possible to be accidentally electrocuted. It almost happened to me, talking about the woman falling out. I'm honestly surprised that doesn't happen more often. Because...
That what?
Falling on the third rail.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's like right there, It's not like...
Yeah, poor girl was laid out across the shit. She was smoking. I showed Jen.
Yeah, he always shows me stuff I don't really want to look at, but...
Yeah.
It didn't look that bad.
No, just spooky.
Yeah. I mean,
And the dudes were kind of like laughing.
which that's kind of a fucked up thing to laugh
Yeah.
at. Although I guess you're just kind of like shocked that you're seeing.
Well, there's
it.
nothing they could do. They couldn't get her off of it.
Well, yeah, you can't. So that's kind of shitty way to go. But like I said, I get kind of more freaked out about that kind of stuff because I'm like, that totally looks like some shit I would do, like walking around in some big platform shoes or something and then just falling off the fucking shit. Oh man. All right, let's see. CB said, "Oh, Tom and Jenny, have you heard of Black Veil Brides? I think you would like their music." Yeah, I've heard a couple of their songs. Yeah, they are really good. Phantom said Breivik only got 21 years in prison for his crime. Yeah, we need to do a show about that motherfucker too. Like I said,
He'd be out soon.
I was just thinking about, yeah, when did that happen? 2000.
That was Sweden.
11, 2007. I don't remember when it was.
That was Sweden, though. You basically
Was that 2007?
Yeah, no.
I had it.
You knew each other by then. You were in that. You were still living in your apartment. So that must have been 2010.
I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't. I think it was up here someplace. I don't know. It's like I'll get to it later.
Sweden used to be real soft on crime because they didn't have crime, so you could just go soft on it. But they got a lot of it now, so he wouldn't get that nowadays. I wouldn't think.
Yeah. When the hell was that? I had it written down in here, but I don't remember where it went to. Yeah, 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there was one that was in 2007. That was another kind of big one, but yeah. All right, so let's get into this right now since Oh, Mango said Maxine is a great film. I really liked it, honestly. I kind of feel like a lot of people were disappointed in it, but I didn't really get that. I thought it was pretty fucking great, honestly. I don't get the disappointment, but whatever. Everybody has different opinions, so I'm not gonna say anything about it. You know what I mean. Mega said started drinking at 11 a.m. but was not driving. Yeah, I mean, I don't really... I make jokes about day drinking, but as long as you're not driving around, I don't give a shit what you do in your house. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit what time of day. Why does it matter what time of day you start drinking? It really doesn't matter. But yeah, okay. So let's start talking about this fucking mass shooting right here. So as I said, this happened in 2019 in El Paso, Texas. Now, just as a little bit of a summary, this was perpetrated by a gunman named Patrick Crucius, is I think how you pronounce his last name, who at the time of the shooting was 21 years old. The death toll was 23 people, 23 dead, and 22 wounded. 20 of the victims were killed immediately, like were killed on the day of the attack. 2 others died, like one died the day after, and then there was someone that died 2 days after, and then another guy actually survived the shooting at first, but then he died like 8 months later from complications. Now, unlike a lot of the mass shootings where they're just kind of like, well, we don't know what the motive was or anything like that, this one pretty much the FBI immediately started investigating it as an act of domestic terrorism and also a hate crime, mainly because the shooter had posted his manifesto. Anyone's got a manifesto, you always know you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. On 8chan just a few minutes before the shooting, and then it got passed around like to other people on 8chan. So they kind of knew the type of dude they were looking for. Now, this dude was, unfortunately, not killed at the scene. He actually surrendered to police and was very open during his first interrogation that he was specifically targeting Mexicans and was trying to kill as many Mexicans as possible. Now, of the people that he killed, 13 of them were actually American citizens. Mexican-American citizens.
Yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Which, yeah.
It's like saying, I'm going to go kill the Irish.
One of them, one was a German.
Yeah, right.
And the others were Mexicans, but they didn't live here. Yeah. As in, this Walmart store is only a few miles from the border, and a lot of people who live in Mexico will come over to shop at this big-ass Walmart because it's not that far. So it's like some of these people were Mexican, but they did not live here. So I think what he was trying to do was trying to discourage more Mexicans from coming here, is I think what he was trying to do.
But they've been here. They've been in Texas.
See, that's what's so stupid about the whole. I'm like, you're from Texas, right? You know that Texas used to be part of Mexico. I mean, like the whole.
Yeah. Most of the South was.
I don't understand. I mean, if people like this made any sense, like logical sense, they wouldn't be doing this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Motherfucker's either dumb as shit. It's just dumb as shit, really.
He's just an angry little chode that wanted to shoot people and didn't like Mexicans, so he just figured that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, now this fucking... to straighten this shit out for our foreign audience, or maybe people live up north, I don't fucking know. If you look at the data, Anglos and Central Americans, or Mexicans, have been interbreeding with each other for fucking centuries, going back to the 1500s, well, 1600s, really. And if the Mexican Americans, or you maybe just call Latino Americans, that'd be another way, because it really doesn't matter if it's Mexico. It could also be,
Central America, South America.
South America. It does have very high intermarriage rates because it's just another Western civilization. They tend to be just like us. They're family-oriented people. They tend to be Catholic. They drink beer. They have all the fucking. They have a lot of the same kind of fucking mores. It's not a foreign civilization, really. It's just another one of the American civilizations. It's a weird concept. Everybody should control their borders. Everybody does. When I moved to Brazil, I had to fucking present ID and I had to get a visa and permission.
Same when I went to the UK.
Same thing, right? Yeah. So nobody's going to say.
Kind of a pain in the ass, but,
right? The thing is, though, is you got a chode like this just running around. He's going to say, "Well, I'm going to kill these fucking Mexican invaders just by looking at them." In that region, you'll never be able to tell them apart because you got American citizens that for generations that are Mexican or partially Mexican. You'll never know.
Years and years and years, like you said, generations of their family.
They were here before there was a United States.
Yeah.
Because remember, we
you can't tell by looking, and most of the people that he killed, like not all of them, because he shot at some kids and shit too. But most of the people he killed were like older, like elderly.
People. During the Mexican-American War, the American Army moved westward and drove out the Mexican Army and the Mexican government. They didn't drive out Mexican citizens. There were missions here and everything. So this land was taken by conquest during war, which was fair and square in the 1800s. Throughout history, that's fair and square. If you can't hold it, it's not yours. Because none of these governments were really legitimate anyway. The only legitimacy they had was force. Well, they didn't really push all the people out. They were allowed to stay if they owned the land, They just became American citizens. So I don't know what this dude's talking about. They mostly just pushed out the Mexican army and the government. They didn't care about the civilians.
Yeah, which, like I said, some of them have been here and particularly Texas. And I kind of feel like, especially somewhere like El Paso, which is right on the border, people just go back and forth. Like some people live here and work in Mexico and vice versa. And it's just kind of like, seems like not that big a deal.
Yeah, Murder Hornet, he's an Anglo Army guy like me. He lives on that Mexican border and spends most of his time in Mexico.
Yeah.
He lives in the United States and parties in Mexico.
Which a lot of people do that. They'll live down there because it's right there. And like everything is cheaper down there. So, so like I said, just fucking chill out, man. I don't understand this. But And this, like I said, this dude is a fucking idiot. He's 21. So, So, as I said, like, he ended up surrendering, and his manifesto, which was 4 pages long, which, like I said, I kind of skimmed through it. I'll give you a little rundown of it, like, later on. But he posted it to 8chan, like, right before he went on the shooting spree. And one of the things that he specifically said in there, he was a big admirer of the Christchurch mosque shooter, which had happened earlier in 2019.
I remember that, yeah.
And that was, his name was Brenton Tarrant. That happened in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that was actually a guy, he was targeting Muslims, actually. And he killed, it was actually 2 separate shootings, but it was the same guy that did them. Like, it was on the same day. And he killed 51 people and wounded 40.
Yeah.
And
I watched that one right after it happened on 4chan. Yeah.
And
wild. The dude's wild, yeah.
And so like that guy, the Crucius in the El Paso shooting, one of his big things was the so-called Great Replacement theory, which was also the Christchurch guy, that was a big thing in his manifesto as well. Like I said, somebody got a manifesto. You just run far away from that person because normal people do not have manifestos. So there was that. Great Replacement Theory, that's been around. It's been kicking around, not called that, I don't think, but since like the 19th century. But it kind of got like a big boost in about 2011 with like this book that this French guy wrote. I can't remember what his name is, but it was kind of a big thing about that.
The thing is, though, is you could call that a lot of different things, all right? But stuff like that does happen. There are UN programs to facilitate immigration. You know what I mean? That's what they do. And you could call it replacement migration, all right? And because the birth rate here is falling behind schedule. For big business to make money, you got to have growth, and you have to have a lot of people in the working class. If not, they'll unionize, and fucking labor costs will go up. So really, the great replacement thing nowadays, you got the Democrats saying, "Oh, it's just a Republican fucking conspiracy theory." Nah, it started off as the Democrats were saying the Republicans were doing that fucking 10, 15 years ago. It does happen. They try to move immigrants from developing countries into the United States to use them as a labor force. And also voter blocks. They do it. They've been doing it for a long time. It's because population, as soon as you get middle class here and get fat and lazy, you stop having kids. My ancestors, my mother's family, they had 9 children. And, you know, that was a little much even back then. But a generation before that, they had that many a lot of times. So, yeah. They got to get the workforce and the population from somewhere. So they'll just import them. It's true.
But, yeah, so that theory, though, has also been cited in a bunch of other mass shooter manifestos, including the motherfucker that shot up the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh in 2018. That was 11 dead, obviously targeting Jews. There was one in California. Is it Poway or Poway? I've heard it pronounced both ways. They also shot up a synagogue there. That was in April 2019. 1 dead, 3 injured. And there was also a shooting in Buffalo, New York in May 2022. Guy was spouting the same stuff. That was 10 dead. He was actually targeting black people, though. Yeah. The shooter in that case, who was an 18-year-old, seems to be a theme here, named Peyton Gendron. However, I don't care how you pronounce his fucking name. He actually live-streamed the attack and called himself openly a fascist, an anti-Semite, and a white supremacist. So that's nice. So yeah. Tragically, only 13 hours after the attack in El Paso, there was yet another mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio, which claimed the lives of 9 people outside a bar called Ned Pepper's. Now, the gunman in this case, who was 24 years old, his name was Connor Betts. He was actually killed by police at the scene. He actually shot his brother as one of the victims. He claimed, like, the thing about it was that he was a leftist, but the shooting was not, like, he didn't have a manifesto or he wasn't targeting anyone in particular. It seemed like he was just real mentally ill. They said that going back to middle school, he was real interested in violence and mass shootings and shit like that, and he shot his own brother. I don't know if there was some personal thing there. And his girlfriend back then said that he also probably had schizophrenia. So there's that as well. But that happened the same day, like only a few hours after the El Paso shooting. So the motherfucker in this case, this Crucius dude, now he pled guilty, actually, but he didn't want the death penalty, and the DOJ said they wouldn't pursue the death penalty, so he pleaded guilty, and he got 90 charges. It was federal murder and hate crime charges, and, you know, firearms charges and shit like that, although he did purchase the gun and the ammunition legally. So he got sentenced eventually to 90 consecutive life sentences. However, the state of Texas wants to try him separately on their own charges, and they are absolutely going to go after the death penalty, whether he wants them to or not. So, but that hasn't like carried through yet. But he didn't get a death penalty on the federal charges, but the state charges Texas wants to fry his ass. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. They haven't like worked all of that out yet, but they are going to pursue that. Okay. So this is what happened. So this guy, this kid, I don't know if he lived with his grandparents or he was just staying with his grandparents, but he was from Texas. He was from Allen, Texas, which is about 650 miles from El Paso. And I guess he had planned to do this, and he decided this was going to be the day. So about midnight, like on the day of the shooting, he left his grandparents' house and drove all night, the 650 miles, to El Paso. He specifically chose El Paso because it was very close to the border, and he knew that there would be a lot of quote-unquote Mexicans there to shoot at, evidently. He made a couple stops on the way, you know, for gas and Rockstar energy drinks or whatever the fuck. Now, he gets to El Paso at around 8 in the morning. And I'm not really sure. I don't know if he targeted that Walmart specifically or if he was just looking for a target where there would be a lot of people, because they said that he drove around for about an hour, like kind of looking around, like he stopped at a pizza place and like nobody was there and shit like that. So he gets to, like, about an hour later, he gets to the Walmart, which was near like a bigger, like a mall. I think it's called the Cielo Vista Mall. That's like on the east side of El Paso. So he gets there about 9 in the morning. So he goes into the Walmart and he walks around for about 30 minutes, like casing the joint, I guess, or like seeing what the layout was. Horribly. And then he goes back out to his car for a few minutes, and then he comes back into the store, buys a single orange, eats it in the store, and then leaves and goes back out to the parking lot again. So he's sitting out in his car at a little past 10 in the morning, about 10:15. And then he decides that he's going to do this thing. So he brought his laptop with him. He opens laptop. He goes on 8chan and started a thread called "It's Time," without an apostrophe, because of course he can't spell. Now, the tragically hilarious thing about this was that he had put like the first post that he made. I guess he meant to upload a PDF of his manifesto, but he accidentally uploaded a PDF of like a discipline letter that was sent to him by like the administration of his college for showing up drunk in class. Like that was the first thing he uploaded. Like he meant for that to be his manifesto. So I'm like, that's classic. So yeah.
Showing up drunk, yeah.
For showing up drunk to class.
That's cool.
So yeah, this guy was a real winner, as you can tell.
I haven't even seen him yet.
Oh, you don't. I didn't have room because what I did on the YouTube thumbnail, I said, you know what? I'm not even gonna put this motherfucker's picture on there. I'm just gonna put all the victims, like most of the victims' pictures, like all the ones that fit. But on the Instagram one, because the collage of the victims was rectangular, like I had room at the bottom, I said, okay, well, I'll put him at the bottom, but I'll just like fade him out. So
these dudes all look the same.
They all really do.
All kind of look
the
the same.
Hilarious thing about, like, I don't know, every like white supremacist I've ever seen looks like the most backward troglodyte member of the race that you have ever fucking. And I'm just like, really? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they all look like that.
Yeah, they all have funny looking faces too. Just most of the notable mass shooters and shit, or even just that fucking the dude tried to assassinate Trump and shit. You looked at his face. They were calling him Lee Tardy Oswald or Lee Tardy Oswald. It's just there's something off about him.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, Lee Tardy Oswald. There's just something off about him.
Obviously there has to be something wrong with you to do shit like that, but they all just look kind of stupid and vacant.
It's something kind of genetic.
And kind of lopsided, or I don't know what it is. It's
something
like,
wrong with the eyes, and there's
just something the matter. Well, like I said, obviously there's
something funny looking about them,
or they wouldn't be doing this crap.
Yeah,
like I said, you never see. And here's the weird thing. I was just because I was thinking to myself, well, I guess like most serial killers are pretty fucking ugly too. But then some serial killers are just kind of normal looking. Yeah. Which kind of makes them scarier. But like mass shooters, you don't usually see a lot of mass shooters that are normal looking. They all look kind of dumpy or
They were
crooked or
they look
I
like
don't
they
know.
got picked on.
Yeah, they always look kind of
Yeah, they look like somebody you would pick on.
like I wouldn't pick on people, but because I don't do that. But yeah, but it does look like somebody that would get bullied a lot.
Yeah.
Not that that's excusing it, obviously, because I got bullied too, and I don't go around fucking shooting people.
Yeah, but you didn't look like a genetic misfit.
Yeah, but like I said, it just does.
It always looks like
it does seem like because honestly, I grew up in Daytona, and my brother was in a punk band, so we used to go to a lot of punk shows. And anybody that went to a lot of punk shows back in the day, you always knew that you always had the contingent of skinheads that always showed up and like made life hell for everyone else. And we had a bunch that would come from DeLand to like pretty much every show, and every single one of them looked like they were missing a few chromosomes. That's all I'm saying. They all just look like that. They're just like, here's the shining examples of the white race. They all look like
they fall in. They fall into where they belong, kind of. You know what I mean? There's kind of like a little filter, and they just kind of end up there. That's what they had going for them. That's where they ended up. That's all they had.
Well, like I said, I think a lot of it comes from. I mean, the reason people end up in, ideologies like this and stuff like that is because they feel inadequate. They feel like losers. They feel like, but then like you're just reinforcing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, why don't you just be a cool person?
Yeah.
The more you end up in groups like this, the more people are gonna like piss on you and make fun of you because you're awful. Like, just stop being awful, and maybe people won't fucking do that to you. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're just very angry, and I don't understand.
It's fringe dudes that need a cause. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly. It gives them a purpose.
It gives them purpose. They don't have a purpose without that.
Yeah. But
I've known guys that are like that.
Yeah, I've known a lot of guys like that.
They were all just kind of like, meh. There's nothing to that, dude.
Right. But like I said, there's lots of things that you can do to give yourself purpose in life that don't involve going and killing a bunch of innocent people. Pro tip. But yeah, so I don't know. People like stuff like this makes me just so angry. It just makes me very angry. So I just this whole reading about this douche like really like bummed me out. Like while I was reading all this stuff and I was watching all the news reports of like all the people and like all the people like fucking screaming when they were finding out their relatives were dead and all this other kind of stuff, and it was bumming me out. So I had to have some kind of little moment of levity while I was reading it. So the fact that the first PDF file, he's like, I'm going to upload my manifesto. You know what I mean? Like he uploads that and it's like a thing being like, can you not show up drunk to class? Okay, thanks. Like the fact that he uploaded that first, like just really made me laugh, probably more than it should have. I'm like, and also the fact that he didn't put an apostrophe in its time, because that's just so typical. But yeah. So he uploads his manifesto, finally. He figured it out, like after 5 minutes. And then at about 10:37 a.m., he goes to the back of his car, gets out his rifle, which, is it called a Wasser?
Yeah.
A Wasser 10?
Wasser 10, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
semi-automatic.
It's an AK clone.
Yeah. That's what it said in my notes. That was in his trunk. Like I said, he purchased it legally, and he also purchased, I believe, 1,000 hollow point rounds for it. Also legally, he purchased them online. So it wasn't a thing where he stole it or nothing like that. It was all above board. So there's that. So he gets this semi-automatic rifle out of the trunk of his car, and he just starts immediately. The first person he killed was a woman who was in the parking lot. She was like just pushing a shopping cart like to her car or from her car or whatever. And so he shot her and killed her in the parking lot. And then he started shooting at, like, out in front of the store. You know how sometimes they have, like, Girl Scouts selling cookies or shit like that? So they had a thing outside the Walmart where a bunch of people were fundraising for the El Paso, like, the girls' soccer team. And he just shot at them. Started shooting at them also. So during this, so he killed that woman and he killed 2 more people. One of the dudes that he shot, like, survived the attack initially, but then he died like 8 months later from complications. But he killed 3 people in the parking lot and injured 6 people in the parking lot before he even went in the fucking store, because he just took the gun out of the trunk and just started shooting like randomly. Now, so the manager of the store looks out and sees the motherfucker out there and saw him coming towards the store. So he, obviously gets on the intercom and says it's code brown, which that was another thing that I was kind of like, really? Is that what they're going to call it? Okay. But that's sadly, they have a code for active shooter, and that's what it is. It's code brown at that particular Walmart. I guess across all Walmarts, I'd imagine. If you've worked at Walmart, let me know.
Hugo said something. He goes, Tom, there are towns in Mexico where you find people with blue eyes and green eyes. Yeah, Mexico City has a fantastic goth scene. And I've seen pictures of the goths in there. They look fantastic too, man.
They got like way more goth clubs and stores and shit than we got up here, and I'm kind of jealous.
And you'll see Mexicans that look like they're just straight from Spain. They're just white as snow, you know. And they're Mexican, but they're just the Spanish branch. And then you got people that are kind of a mixture of the two. Mexico has good looking people, man, especially around Mexico City and some of their bigger cities. You know, they're just professionals and normal jobs just like anybody here, you know. That border gives Mexico a real fucking bad name. Those people crossing that border are not Mexicans. They're from further south, most of them. Any Mexican that wanted to be here is already here. Most Mexicans wanted to live in Mexico. Mexico's better. I'd rather live in Mexico than California. You're going to get a lot more for your money.
Honestly, we've talked about like
moving
living in Mexico or maybe the Philippines, just because it's like cheaper
and you get
a lot more for your money.
I lived in Brazil. I could easily live in Mexico.
I mean, I wouldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I was just like live in a cool place in Mexico, have good clubs and good food around there, you know, and just lay low, have a good time. All the fucking people worried about those drug cartels. All your big famous resort areas down around the Yucatan and shit, that's all controlled by the fucking cartels. They make sure nothing happens to those fucking tourists. They need that shit, you know what I mean? And so the cartel, you want to go to cartel controlled areas if you want to be safe, you know, because they put the word out on those guys. Nobody touch these tourists. All right, you touch those tourists, you can be answered to the cartel because they actually run the fucking place.
Well, like I said, it's just we were thinking about like not now, not
like,
recently, but like
if
maybe
shit ever went south here, you know?
Or like when we get older, like retirement age or something like that. Like because you know, if we just talked about, I don't know if we'll do it or not, but it's just kind of like it might be a case where it's like, man, let's just move somewhere where everything is like way cheaper.
A lot of Americans
so we can just live on.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of Americans move to Mexico to retire.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't blame them. And well, in Central America too, a lot of like there was a few years back, but a lot of people always moved to like Central America.
Yeah, it's not really the Mexico I remember as a child growing up in Southern California. You know, I remember back in those days, fucking Tijuana was just a joke. You know, that was like people would go there just to get drunk, and it was like a gag. Tijuana's real fucking nice now. It's grown up quite a bit. It's, you know.
Yeah, nothing looks like people think that it looked like.
Yeah.
Like I said, you still see movies nowadays where it's like set in Africa and it still looks like tribal and shit. Like, I'm like, you know, they have like real like big metropolis cities and stuff there, right? It's like it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, there are cities in Nigeria. I was looking at it. I was going, man, I'd live there.
That's what I mean. It's like people have
nice apartments and shit.
People have a really like weird.
Yeah.
Well, remember I told you a long time ago, like my stepdad's mom, who passed away many years ago. When I lived in the UK for a while and then I came back, she asked if they had VCRs over in the UK.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, you know, that's like a first world country, right?
A lot of Americans are kind of delusional. They kind of think the world is the way it was 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah, I have encountered that. Especially among older people.
Yeah, especially older. In this day and age, all these so-called other primitive countries have caught up to us and sometimes even gotten ahead of us. Some of those Middle Eastern fucking cities are fucking great, man. Abu Dhabi and fucking Dubai. I mean, Assad tells me that fucking Saudi Arabia is getting fucking nice too. Shit. What's the other one that was shit that's happening in Africa? They got some big cities there. Fucking pretty much Mexico is not like it was. It's, you know. And also the same thing with the militaries. Iran's got a badass fucking military. So does Turkey. And we're trying to throw our weight around right now against Iran. And we're going to get our fucking shit handed to us, man, because you can't do much with an aircraft carrier nowadays. Those hypersonic missiles will send it to the bottom. But America's still running around like it's the only superpower on the earth now. Trying to fucking get these little countries to bend to our will. This is not 30 years ago. They've changed.
Yeah, I mean,
we can't bully these countries.
Most countries have the same shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes better shit.
Yeah, and sometimes better. Because their shit is new. Well, some of this Middle Eastern stuff, you look at it and it's brand fucking new. The whole city. You know, to me, a little bit tacky, some of it. But hey, that's their country. They want it to look like that. You know, they want to fucking put that shit. But you know, like, they got money, so they want they want you to know that they got money. You know, but
you know, I get that.
That's how they get it.
Yeah, Zach said, we're talking about the mass shooters all looking the way they look. Said a lot of them look like the stereotypical nerdy kid you see in a sitcom who you really want to punch in the head. Kind of like the you know the kid from Grease that was played by Eddie Deason.
Yeah. Like that.
They all kind of look like. Actually, this guy kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then CB said, why do white supremacists always have sisters that look like his personal sperm bank? Yeah, that's what I mean. It's all just kind of, they all look like that.
Look, I haven't seen a guy like that in a long, long time, but I've run into guys like that back in the fucking 80s and the 90s, okay? I don't really think that's a thing anymore. If it is, it must have mutated, but into something else. But even back in those days, those dudes weren't about shit. They're not going to do anything. They were kind of weak. And a lot of it was just showing off. You know, pretending like he's a tough guy, and they were in the skinhead movement, the ones that I was talking about.
Yeah,
you know?
I knew some skinheads back in my day. I didn't hang out with them or nothing, but they'd show up at all the shows.
They try to throw their weight around in a bar full of white dudes. It's like, well, if you're so fucking tough, why don't you go to fucking the other side of town and go to a fucking R&B club, or fucking. Or a fucking hip hop club. Go throw your weight around over there to see how long.
Let's see your little skinny white skinhead ass show up in there. See how long you last.
See how long you last over there. That's why
they're staying in their safe space.
Don't worry about that shit. Those dudes are fucking fake.
Nobody ever.
Those dudes are
fake.
Them.
Everybody just rolled their eyes and made fun of them. Honestly.
And dudes like this are fakes of those fakes. You know what I mean? This dude is a fake, too.
Well, I mean, he killed actual people, so.
But he is a man is fake.
Well, yeah.
Anybody that doesn't have a conscience can pull a trigger. And he was willing to die for it, probably. But no, I guess he wasn't.
No, he wasn't, because
he wouldn't go down and fight. He wouldn't go down fighting, would he?
No.
He wanted to get known for it.
Well, yeah, and like I said, yeah. Well, we'll get into that. Yeah, Tammy said, yeah, that's right. I knew one of you guys had worked at Walmart before. Yeah, Tammy said Walmart has actual computer videos we had to watch on what to do for active shooter protocol. That's kind of depressing. Yeah, CB said white supremacists hate gay and black and Jewish people, but those hypocrites are always fucking and sucking each other in prison. Yeah, I'm sure they probably are. They probably are. But yeah, Tammy says they even have indoor plumbing. Yeah, I was surprised that she said that. Like, asking about the VCRs, I'm like, yeah. And honestly, when I was in the UK, it seems like everybody had cell phones like way before people in the US had them. No. Like, so there was that. But yeah. So, okay, so while he was still in the parking lot, as I said, he shot and killed 3 people and wounded 6 people. And then he went inside the store. Now, while he was coming in, like I said, the manager did like a code brown, whatever. And so all the employees started trying to, like, you know, help the customers, like, because this kind of blew my mind. At the time of the shooting, they approximated about 3,000 customers in that Walmart, which is a lot of people. So the employees started kind of like helping everybody hide or like trying to get them out of the stores or shit like that. And so what a lot of people did was they either ran out. I'm not sure if the Walmart was attached to the mall or if it was just kind of like next to the mall or whatever. But it's just kind of like, so a lot of them kind of went out and ran out into the mall. Some of them went out behind the store and like hid in the storage containers or like hid underneath shit and things like that. So that's what happened. So he walks into the Walmart, and as soon as he walked in, he just shot this old man who was like running away from him and killed him. And then there were a bunch of people in the checkout, and he just went through and like shot all of them while he was walking, in an easterly direction. And then there was, because you know how sometimes in Walmart they have like the bank inside there, like sometimes they have a McDonald's and shit like that. But there was a bank inside the store, and he shot a bunch of people in the lobby of the bank that were standing around in there. And then shot more people in the checkout. And then he so he just went through there and just shot like indiscriminately, and then left. And it took like less than 5 minutes. Like, he walked through and like shot all these people.
Was he running or was he just walking?
It looked like he was just walking. There is CCTV footage of him.
Yeah.
Like walking into the store.
Do you have any idea how many mags he was carrying? How many magazines he was carrying?
They said that he bought 1,000 hollow point rounds.
Yeah, but you can't carry all that.
But he wasn't carrying all that, but that's what he bought. I don't know how much of it he had.
So he must have four or five magazines, probably 4 or 5 30-round magazines. We don't know how many rounds he shot off total.
No, and it's scary because I saw like cell phone footage of like a guy. I think he was like an army. He was either army veteran or he was retired army, and he was in the store. And he was kind of freaking out because you could hear the shooting.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "There's a fucking shooter in here," and he was just like looking for a place to hide and shit like that. And he was trying to help this one guy, and the dude got shot like right next to him, and it was just.
And to answer the questions, if he was carrying the hollow points, chances are he was using probably Wolf or Tula, which those were inexpensive Middle Eastern European brands. They were kind of military specification, brass or steel cased. Usually there was polymer around them. Berdan primed. Kind of there was reliable ammunition, but it was cheap. Usually kind of like probably not steel core at that point. It's just the thing is about them is they would sell them as full metal jacket or hollow point, and guys would buy those hollow points and like use them for hunting, like they would do more damage. But they tested them consistently over and over again, and they didn't act as a hollow point. They wouldn't open. Didn't make any difference. To get a hollow point to open up, you got the metallurgy has to be just right. Those things had real heavy steel jackets on the bullets, fucking that were copper washed. A lot of them, they just wouldn't open because they're Eastern European stuff. They're going to use the cheap metals, steel. They don't use brass. They're not going to use a whole lot of copper, which makes sense for them because them is all about volume, volume and endurance for their military. And this is kind of like military surplus. That's what they use. Now the rifle he's using is a Wasser 10. You cannot import a foreign AK into the United States, but you can build an AK in the United States out of foreign parts, and that's basically what the Wasser 10 was. They were Romanian-made parts, and they were usually assembled here in the United States or completed here in the United States. I think that was, what was the name of that company that did that? It's an American company that was importing them. They were okay. There was nothing, they were just mediocre. The quality was just in the middle. They tended to work. You got your money's worth out of them, but they weren't anything special. A lot of them were sold here in the United States. And it was just a very basic Romanian AK. They came in. They had the 74s and 545s, and they had the 47s and 7.62 .39. And I think he used the 7.62 version. I had one of the real older ones though. That was like the right from Romania before they banned them. Before they banned the importation of a Ratno Kugir 74. It was really nice, but you can't get the ammo anymore. I traded it off a long time ago. But in the hands of a fucking asshole, even not knowing anything, if you got a bunch of civilians sitting around as sitting ducks and not fucking running, or they're trapped, or they're just shooting into a huge big crowd, you can do quite a bit of damage with one.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
And some of the people were running, and he shot them anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I'd have been fucking out of there and climbing over fucking people to get the fuck out of there. I know when somebody's fucking shooting at me. I've seen videos of dudes fucking shooting dudes, and people standing there watching it. And then he's the next one to go. Like he wasn't going to get shot. I mean, but, I was conditioned to react to that, I guess, from the military. But, just because I've been shot at fucking so many times with blanks, just over and over again, where I'm haven't slept in 4 days, I still react the same way. I'm going to fight to get away from it. So I can regroup and come back on you. But I've just seen so much footage of people that just sat there and got killed. I don't understand it,
Well, like I said, you have to imagine that these people they're just in Walmart. They probably didn't react well because why the fuck what the fuck is going on? He just walked in and started shooting.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them, most of the people that he shot were elderly. They were like older people.
So there's just no reaction. They just watch it.
You know what I mean? Well, it's not so much that. It happened in minutes. It's like, I don't victim blame.
No, I'm not
they were
saying
just
that.
standing there.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it because I see it happening. You know, fucking been in shit, kind of, not this intense, but a lot of live fire type situations and been in shootings and fucking I vanish. It's not just me, you know what I mean? You can look on the CCTV cameras, brothers are going to run because they know everything. You see black dudes just vanish and pow! A lot of them make it because they react instantly. It's already in their frame of, especially if he kind of looks like he's from the inner city, it's in his frame of reference that, yeah, you could possibly get shot. A lot of these other people, they think it's not real.
Well, yeah, because it's not something they experience on a day-to-day basis. So it's like it takes you a second to like process what's going on because it's kind of surreal.
Right.
Yeah, Oscar said he didn't shoot indiscriminately. He didn't kill any white people. Yeah, I think maybe... I thought he killed one German guy, but it's just like most of the... like all of the other people I think were... But the thing is, that's why he picked that... that's why he picked El Paso specifically, because he was targeting Mexicans and Mexican Americans and immigrants. So he thought that would be where there would be the highest concentration. Yeah, Jeff...
Why Texas?
That's where he's from. Although he wasn't from El Paso, he was from like 650 miles away.
He doesn't know.
I don't know how white Allen, Texas is.
He doesn't know the history of Texas, evidently.
Well,
I mean, it would make more sense.
He's a dumbass 21-year-old.
I can understand if it makes more sense if this motherfucker's from, you know what I mean, fucking from Maine, you know, 99.9% white. You know what I mean? That maybe he's shocked that Mexicans are there. I'm fucking. Texas, I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Texas was always about half Mexican. Texas was born half Mexican.
Well, like all of the Southwest is like that. Like, where the fuck have you been?
Mississippi had a lot of Spaniards in it. You know, I got Spanish names and French names.
That'd be like coming to Florida and getting pissed off at Cubans.
Yeah, like, man, there's Cubans and Spanish Empire people here. Man, this was Spanish tempered territory.
They were here before white people
Dumbass.
were. Pissed off.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I don't understand like people getting upset about shit like that. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't make any difference to me. It's just kind of like, whatever.
He's one of these dudes that thinks white people are fucking getting wiped out. That there won't be any in the future. He's one of those. I've fucking seen
That's dumb, though.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That won't happen.
And, like...
I've already seen the projected, how everything's turning out, you know what I mean? Birth rates will decline across the fucking board. The ratios here in the United States fucking 40 years from now will be similar to what they are now. There'll just be probably less people. Because the birth rate's declining. Even if you bring in immigrants, their birth rates decline. Because they get fat and lazy just like us, real quick. They're like, I don't want to spend my money on fucking 5 kids. You know what I mean? So their birth rates are about the same.
You can't blame people, honestly.
Yeah, and then a lot of the immigrants
either.
that come here are male, and they never marry, so they don't reproduce. A lot of them come here, and then they go back home. We knew a dude who came here, got married to a hot chick, and he still went home.
He was Colombian.
He was Colombian. He fucked off back to Colombia. He's like, fuck
he
this.
lives in Colombia now.
I'm going back to Colombia.
He didn't like it here.
Yeah, so Colombia's nice, man.
That's why.
Nice.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people get so. But honestly, I think people get. I'm not saying people shouldn't get angry about shit, because there's absolutely shit that is worth getting angry about. But people getting angry about dumb shit like this that really doesn't affect them at all, honestly.
It's not going to impact you in your lifetime anyway.
Like, quit fucking worrying about it. Just have a good time. Live your fucking life. Don't worry about other people, what other people are doing. It's not affecting you in the least. It's just, why are you so mad about it? It's like, I think that these people, they're only happy and they only feel like they have purpose in life if they're mad about something. And I don't understand
People are scaring them about demographics.
I know, and it's just like, well, so.
But if you look at the what we believe, because they didn't have real good, what do you call them? Fucking not a consensus. They didn't have a lot of census taking in the fucking 1600s, you know, the 1700s. Basically, of the people that were considered to be American citizens, the ratios have been about the same: 10 to 13% black, 60-something% white, maybe 70% white, and then a lot of Hispanics and Spaniards.
Yeah, it's really not.
And it's been that way for fucking hundreds of years.
It's
just that the mass gets bigger and smaller.
Yeah, like I said,
so
take the long view, man. It's like I said, and like I said, it doesn't really affect you. It's just, why are you worried about it? I don't understand why people are worried.
You're scared of them.
Like I said, well, just like, why are you scared of it? It's just another person. Like, who cares what fucking
it's easy to race bait.
No shit, it is. But I'm just saying, quit fucking falling for it.
Yeah. You can say these people of other races are after you. White people are after you. Jews are after you. Blacks
it's just,
are after
well,
you.
And it's kind
Mexicans
of,
are after
that's
you.
like
Everybody's
the
after
oldest
you.
it's othering.
It's a divide and conquer strategy.
And it's not just races either. They just like always
You can do
othering gay people or trans people or whatever it is.
Stuff,
Anything. You can just like other people. So it's like those people are causing all your problems. You know what I mean?
It's a way to get power here in the United States. Is to fucking divide and conquer.
And it's like, and it's very obvious. And I just wish people would stop falling for it. It just depresses me that people keep falling for it. Like this motherfucker did. So yeah. So he's in the store for like less than 5 minutes. And he killed 19 people inside the store. And this is in addition to the 3 people that he killed in the parking lot, the 6 people he wounded in the parking lot. So he killed 19 people in the store and injured 15 in the store. And then he went out of the store and then back into the parking lot again and opened fire on a car in the parking lot and killed the dude that was driving and also wounded his wife who was in the car. And then he went back to his car and drove away like nothing fucking happened. So obviously, people inside the store had called 911 and the fire police and everything like that turned up about 5 minutes later. And they were in, this is fucked up. Like I was having a hard time kind of watching this, but they were bringing out people that were wounded. They were like bringing them out like on shopping carts and stuff like that. Because I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it was there, and I guess it was quicker than like bringing in gurneys or whatever. But yeah, so they were bringing wounded people out like in shopping carts. Everybody's flipping out, and like people, they had it kind of locked down, and so they weren't really telling people because they didn't know like who everybody was that was dead inside the store, and they didn't want to tell anybody anything outside. So there's like all this footage of like all these people outside like freaking the fuck out, like because they knew that like their mom was in there or their kid was in there or whatever, and they're like wanting to find out like if they were alive or dead or whatever, and it was just like awful. Like they're all just like flipping out outside the store. So because a lot of people like kind of went there, obviously, seeing if they could find out what was going on. Now, meanwhile, so the FBI shows up, ATF shows up, everybody shows up at the fucking store because they know it's like a mass shooter, you know what I mean? So obviously FBI and everybody's gonna show up. So after this motherfucker, Crucius, he drives to like a nearby intersection and drives into the left turn lane. And then he just stops in the left turn lane and he gets out of his car with his hands up. And I guess there had been like a couple cars following him because they saw him like leave the parking lot. It was Texas Rangers and like a couple of motorcycle cops that had followed him. So he just gets out of the car, calm as you please, and it's like, hey, it's me. I did it. So they arrested him, and they took him to the headquarters, you know what I mean? So, as I said, the complete death toll, 23 people dead. 20 of the victims died, as I said, on the day of the shooting. One died the day after, one died 2 days after, and one man died 8 months later from complications. And there were also 22 injured. Among the injured was a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old, so that's nice. There was also a thing where a couple of parents were killed trying to shield their children from bullets, so that's great. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, among the dead, there were 13 Americans, 8 Mexicans, and 1 German person.
Now, when you say the 8 Mexicans, 8 Mexican citizens? Or do you talk about
Mexican citizens.
Okay.
And as in they lived in Mexico and just came over the border to go to the Walmart, which a lot of people did in this.
This bitch here thinks this is acceptable casualties for his mission profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm assuming
And a dumbass.
And I'm assuming that the 13 Americans were also Mexican Americans because he did seem to be targeting people who looked Hispanic, I'm assuming. And that's why he chose El Paso in particular. Like why he drove all that way. Because it's like close to the border, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Fucking douche.
So like I said, the majority of the people killed were older than 56. 2 of the people were in their 40s. 2 of them were in their 20s. 1 of them was in their 30s, and 1 was a teenager. 1 was 15. And as I said, the wounded were aged from 35 to 82, but there were also 2 children among the wounded. 1 of them was 2, and 1 of them was 9. So yeah, I'm thinking that like I said, I don't know how. It was obviously targeted because he said I was going after Mexicans, so I'm just assuming that he just shot at anybody that quote unquote looked Mexican to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, he picked El Paso specifically because he thought that there would be a lot of Mexicans. Like, or a lot of illegals, or whatever the fuck he was thinking. I don't know. He probably wasn't even thinking.
This bitch is too dumb to think.
Well, obviously. Yeah.
To show you how fucking good Mexican Americans are. When this shit went down, they just thought it was an anomaly. Like, that stupid motherfucker. And it just went over like it was nothing. They didn't take this shit seriously. I mean, of course you take it seriously. It's a fucking... They just knew that they were dealing with an idiot. You know. Most white people aren't like this. He's just fucking crazy.
Well, that's the thing. Most people are not like this. You hear about these stupid motherfuckers because the shit they do is like so outrageous, and 99% of people would condemn this, obviously.
Yeah.
If somebody didn't condemn it, then you'd be like, You'd be like looking at them like, what the fuck is your problem?
Same thing when that Korean dude, fucking Chim Chol-sul, I forgot his name was, took them pistols and shot up the fucking college that he was at. Because he thought all the women were making fun of him, which they weren't.
We should do a show about that dude too. What was that? I can't remember what his name. What's his fucking name? It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Chol-sul.
Yeah, I think I'll find it. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, we gotta do a show.
One of you guys probably remembers it.
Yeah. After that happened, the Korean American fucking community in that area, they all started putting out all-point bulletins. You know, better lay low. They're going to be after us. There was no retaliation for that. Fucking white people didn't take that shit seriously. You're like, that was just a fucking maniac.
But you could be forgiven for thinking that, too, because look what happened after 9/11. Like, people that weren't even Muslims.
Yeah. Like, they were shooting the Sikhs.
Yeah.
That one dude shot the Sikh.
They're like, bro, that's a completely different religion.
Yeah,
what
the
fuck?
Sikhs were fighting the Muslims. What the fuck are you doing, man?
See, this is what stupidity gets you.
Yeah.
Just mind your own fucking business.
That was another dude like him, the one that shot the Sikh.
Yeah. Mind your own fucking business. You know what I mean? Like, that person's just walking around. They're not doing nothing to you.
Yeah.
Just...
But now Koreans,
Jesus Christ,
Koreans and just Asians in general they're just no trouble.
I mean,
if one of them does something stupid, they're not gonna get blamed.
Like I said, the human race is just a constant source of disappointment to me. They can be better. They can. We've seen it. It's just some of them just will not. Well, the thing about it is, I think what it is too is that
it's never been this good, Jen.
No, I know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is. The thing about it is that when people are cool and like kind to each other and stuff, like, it doesn't make the news, obviously, because people are just chill, and so nobody hears about that. Yeah. Because, like I said, that's boring.
We hear about this shit.
We hear about all the bad shit.
We talk about all these serial killers,
and it just seems like everybody's like that, but they're not. It's a tiny, tiny minority.
And this is like one of the most peaceful eras in world history.
It is.
Fucking, you go back to the fucking...
I wouldn't want to go back to
the Middle Ages.
There's a lot of shit I don't like about this timeline that we're living in right now, but it's just kind of like... I wouldn't go back to any other... I wouldn't even go back to, like, the 80s or anything like that. Yeah. I just wouldn't.
Yeah. But, this is, like, a relatively nonviolent era. Very nonviolent.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't worry about it. And like I said, I don't...
I want to get off into is I'm going to start studying the fucking Mongol invasions. All right? I didn't realize that the Mongols killed that many people. I mean, they killed 1/3 of the Earth's population at one time. Ain't that some shit? I'm going to get off into that. I'm going to find exactly. And then they came back for a second round with Tamerlane. They did a bunch of damage there. And they did it kind of for no reason. They were just badasses. They're like the Klingons. Fucking Mongols. Yeah.
Sorry, I spaced out for a sec. Tammy will appreciate this. I was thinking of that Eddie Izzard thing where he was talking about these... kind of big like leaders that killed 100,000 people, and he's just kind of like, you killed 100,000 people? You must get up very early in the morning. I can't even get down the gym. It's like you're almost kind of like, wow, well done. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, you're always just kind of like, wow, how did they get all that shit accomplished? But I can see.
Some of the ancients, man, had fucking fantastic body counts, fucking super high. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, not something to be proud of, but you're just kind of like, holy crap, like how did they even get all that done?
Yeah.
Well, it's easy when you don't give a shit about anyone.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit.
So.
You had huge armies and they were making money doing it.
Yeah. CB said, we as humans need to sort this shit out and be better. Yeah, right? God and skin is no excuse for murdering someone for being different. Yeah, like I said, it's different if somebody's coming right up in your face and they're going to kill you or your family or something like that. Like, yeah, defend yourself. It's just like, if somebody's just walking down the street minding their own beeswax. Like, leave people the fuck alone. How hard is that? I don't understand it.
At the basis, at the root of it, is old men with a bunch of money and a bunch of power trying to expand their empires, pimping out young guys like me to get it done. That's where a lot of it comes from, and that goes back to the ancients. Rome. They did that. Fucking just all civilizations did that. Civilizations are kind of bad. Ain't that some shit? Yeah. They do good things, but they're kind of built on bones. They're kind of built up by killing people, making people, force people to enter an empire of some sort that ends up becoming a nation. That China was like that. Rome, the United States was like that. British Empire, French kind of did it a little bit. Russia, big time. Russia was an entire nation of slaves. The word Slav is related to the name slave. And they were slaves to the king. We knew you'd get off into the Russians, man. The fucking Russians did some wild shit, too. They're going way back. Ivan the Great or Ivan the Terrible, whatever you want to call him. They had some wild characters, man. Been fucking tough. They're medieval. They were medieval even in the 1800s. I'd say that a lot of them were medieval in the 1900s.
But like I said, honestly, unless you grew up feral, there's really no excuse anymore.
That's what I was saying.
To be acting like that.
Russians kind of grew up feral, man. They were like peasants. They were serfs, basically. Even into the 1900s, that's what communism was all about. They were trying to break that cycle. About like
in this day and age. Yeah, there's just really no reason. Yeah. If you act like that, it's because you want to, because you're a terrible person and you enjoy being a terrible person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could not be like that.
Yeah.
But you choose not to.
Yeah.
So I don't have any sympathy for
some people
like
just
that.
Want shit, man. They want conquest.
Yeah.
It's stealing, really.
Well, yeah, that's exactly
stealing,
what it is.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know, this stupid motherfucker, he's only 21, so what the fuck does he know? Nothing. And
I don't know who he was listening to. He's probably crazy and he's listening to fucking stupid shit.
Yeah, he was all on 4chan and all into the fucking mass shooters and oh my god, all the immigrants are coming and taking everything.
You can go on 4chan though, and 4chan's hilarious. Who would take any of that shit seriously?
Well, these people do. That's the problem.
I just think
because they're stupid.
I think it's just him.
No, a lot of people do that. I said, I don't.
Most of the shit's a joke to me. I think it's hilarious. I don't go on there all the time, but when something big happens, I'll actually go over there to see if they got video of it. Sometimes they will have video of it.
Yeah, but you're not. Well, I was gonna say you're not a psychopath, but you kind of are. But at least you kind of know. You're self-aware. But the thing about it is you get these stupid angry teenagers or early 20s, which amounts to the same thing, these dudes, and it's I'm sure most of them think a lot of this stuff is just sick jokes and stuff, which of course it is, but it's just there's always that percentage this motherfucker that takes it serious. And honestly, it doesn't help that after motherfuckers like this do this, because it happened after the Christchurch thing. Yeah. That wasn't even the U.S. That was New Zealand.
Yeah.
And after that happened, like I said, there are all these memes talking about how fucking awesome that dude was, and making art of him looking like a saint. Like I said, a stained glass window and shit like that. That doesn't really help anything. Like I said, I know you think you're being edgy and whatever, but it's just kind of
I saw that.
It's same thing happened with
people
remember
were kind of goofing on it.
We did the show about Elliot Rodger and all that, and it's just there's a whole fucking thing about that, and it's just
I find that shit hilarious because it's memeology, and it's supposed to be kind of like a gag,
right? But clearly, a lot of people don't see it
what the meme is doing is trying to express what he thought of himself. That's what it is.
Right, I get that.
It's not.
But dumb
really
people,
what you think of that.
dumb people wouldn't.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, he is awesome. I'm gonna emulate that."
Only a dumb person would think that, but yeah.
Right, but there's lots of dumb people.
Right. Yeah. Mostly when they come up with that meme, it's a gag. They're showing you what that dude thought of himself.
Right.
And when you see what he thought of himself, it's kind of fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
That's what they're.
But like I said, obviously some
the Elliot Rodger ones, man, I was fucking
are not
laughing.
bright enough to.
Yeah, I was fucking laughing.
Because that's kind of a
Some dudes can
sophisticated...
hit it right on the head. Right there. Yeah, that's what that motherfucker was thinking. That's what he thought of himself. So some dudes are really good at it. At fucking watching Elliot Rodgers and go, and then watch this, and then this is what he thinks of himself. You know.
Yeah, but like I said, and too, like a lot of, as the shit gets passed around, like I think some of the original context gets lost also.
Maybe, yeah.
So it could be that some dumbass 16-year-old somewhere sees that and thinks
takes it for real. Yeah.
Right. So there's that too. Like I said, I'm not saying they shouldn't censor things. They shouldn't, like, you can't stop it. I'm just saying that not everyone is going to be sophisticated enough to get the nuances or irony. A lot of people do not get irony, especially in the United States, I've noticed. That was it was interesting because I'm kind of interested in like comedy and like the differences between shit that's funny in like different countries and stuff. And when I was in the UK, their whole shit is predicated on irony and deadpan and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why a lot of Americans don't like British humor, because they don't really, our sense of humor isn't really like that.
We got a really wet sense of humor.
You know what I mean? And I mean, I really like British humor, but a lot of Americans don't, because they kind of don't, I don't know, they don't really seem to get it.
It seems effete and kind of snotty.
I never really saw it that way.
Americans do
but...
not like snots. Yeah, Americans don't like snots.
I never really saw it that way. Maybe because I'm kind of a snot myself, so it's just kind of like it never really bothered me. I'm just like, yeah, okay, stupid. If you want to be proud of being stupid, that's on you, but that's an American thing. They are proud of being stupid. I don't get it. But yeah. So I think
Americans don't trust intellectuals.
Yeah, again, that's something that
a lot of that had to do with the fact that like intellectuals were used as fucking puppets and mouthpieces for dangerous people and fucking people that were trying to control you. So
I'd be more worried about the actual people trying to control you than the puppets.
Well, they just see it as an extension of that.
Well, right, I get that, but I'm just saying that it's like, a
servant of the ruling class is what what an intellectual is. I actually saw that written out. A guy actually made a whole video on that, where he was describing America's regions. He's an American guy, but he's a kid. He got it right. The different regions. That America's more regional based than it is class based. We have classes in each region, but it's more your region you come from is more important than what class you are.
Yeah, I believe that's largely true.
Yeah.
And honestly, the class thing, even when I was in the UK in the 90s and 2000s, that seemed like it was still there, but kind of fallen a lot by the wayside. That was more like an older generation thing. But even then, people there are class differences in the US. We're not as aware of them, I guess. But like you said, I think it's more a regional thing.
Yeah.
Than a class thing.
Especially between the North and the South.
I mean, but those two things are kind of related, though.
Yeah. Especially between the North and the South. They're just...
I gotta pee real quick.
North and South are just eternal enemies. Now, they're not on an individual basis. I got a lot of friends from New York. And you got New Yorkers that live here in the South. There was a lot of immigration into the South from the northern regions. You can hear it in the linguistics. If you go to New Orleans, that accent is almost a New York accent. And that was because back in the 50s, the federal authorities weren't really interested in New Orleans. They weren't interested in Louisiana. It was almost kind of like a rogue state. It wasn't really obeying a lot of federal authorities. It was coming out of tradition of Huey P. Long. And Huey P. Long was kind of like a southern dictator a little bit, but he was kind of a man of the people. And gangsters that were on the run from New York all moved to New Orleans. And they set up businesses and restaurants, and they lived down there. They lived in Florida here too. But if you listen to like downtown New Orleans, the accent that they have there, you're going to hear kind of like a new accent flair to it. You can really hear, well, as a matter of fact, Sylvester Stallone had a movie called Bullet to the Head, where he plays a gangster in New Orleans. And they show that. You'll notice that a lot of the New Orleans gangsters have Italian names and have kind of an Italian, it's a southern accent with a little bit of an Italian flair to it. So there's a lot of crossover. But I don't know. I don't want to go on about the South anymore. Let's get back to this shit.
Well, yeah, you kind of are going off.
Well, I try to fill a time when you're in there, you know.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, what I was saying was, I don't understand another thing, and this is kind of tangentially related to what we're talking about. I don't understand why people find it so difficult to just fucking be cool and leave other people alone.
Most people do.
That are not doing anything.
Well, most people do.
Yeah, but some people seem to find that really hard, and I don't get that. It's really not hard.
I ain't gonna put it on the boomers. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the boomers. Boomers always had to tell you what you were doing wrong.
Yeah, what is that? I mean, other people do it too, but that does seem to be a boomer thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that is. And Tom, you're kind of close to being a boomer, because I think the last boomers were born in '64. You were born like 5 years later.
Yeah, '69. No, I'm not a boomer. No way.
Yeah, no.
Parents were boomers.
Yeah.
I'm Gen X, big time.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm like the epitome of like Gen. You know, whenever they have those memes about Gen X does this and that, I'm like, yep, they called it. That's exactly what I'm like. But yeah.
Billy Idol was the beginning of Gen X. You could tell Billy Idol's not a boomer, even though he's fucking old as shit now. Doing live stuff from the fucking top of the Empire State Building a couple days back. Watch him fucking stream live from up there. Him and Steve Stevens fucking doing a Rebel Yell, I think it was. I don't remember which one it was.
Well, the thing they make the distinction on the subreddit that I always read, because it's like super funny, is that boomer is a mentality. Baby boomer, if they say baby boomer, that just means they're talking about somebody born in that time period.
Yeah.
But if they say boomer, they're talking about someone born in that time period and they said now people in other generations can also be boomers.
Yeah.
Can be like honorary boomers if they act like that. You know what I mean? But that is kind of getting all up in other people's business, like, because that seems to be the largest thing where people are like, will just come up to strangers. Like, they'd be, somebody be like, hey, I was
somebody else is doing.
Worried about what somebody, and I think that if people would just stop doing that, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Like, that person, they don't know you, you don't know them, they have nothing to do with your life.
I'm going to tell you exactly what that is, man. It has to do with God of Abraham-based religions. Muslims are like that. Christians are like that. And Hasidic Jews probably like that. Even though when I was in Israel, and I've been to Israel, I didn't never have any Jews telling me I was doing anything wrong. Well, I would imagine that they probably would if you got to know them. But a Christian,
they tend not to, in my experience. They tend to be less
and Muslims
up in your business.
Christians and Muslims, if they see you doing something, they're gonna explain to you why you shouldn't be doing that.
And I'm like,
all right, and
the fuck asked you?
Yeah,
nobody.
Right, and it's a spreading God's word thing. It's what it is.
Like, yeah, no thanks. I've heard that. I'm not subscribing to that newsletter.
Even though it may not be about religion, it's that religious sentiment. It's the habit of fucking telling people they're doing something wrong.
Well, just the attitude that think
that you're there to
you know
somebody.
better.
Yeah.
Than a complete stranger.
Yeah. That
is. I don't understand that.
It's the attitude that people have to be kept under control.
Yeah.
And that this person has the authority to control you. Which I never.
And it's
really
just
got
some
that.
fucking.
It's a random dude.
I would never in a million years. It would never occur to me to like go and tell a random ass person.
I heard Germans are like that. And they're atheists. But I heard Germans will do that too. They'll just walk up to you and tell you what you're doing wrong.
I don't know. I've never heard that.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
But I'm just saying that it would never occur to me to go up to somebody because I don't know that person. It's none of my fucking business. Like I said, it literally does not affect my life at all. Like, just go on with your fucking life. Just be happy. Don't worry about what they're doing. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, it's, like I said, this is kind of off on a little bit. It's not that far off. So, like I said, this motherfucker is actually, it was from Texas, as far as I know. And he lived in Allen, Texas, which, as I mentioned, is about 650 miles from El Paso. So he drove all the way there to do this shit. Now, he was a high school graduate. He graduated from Plano Senior High School in 2017 and actually went to Collin College, which I don't know if that's like a community college type situation, because he went there for a couple of years, until he pulled this crap. Now, he did get the firearm and the ammunition legally. When he was taken into custody, he very freely admitted that he had specifically targeted Mexicans. That's why he went there to do that. So remember that manifesto that I said that he had uploaded after accidentally uploading the letter about him being drunk in class? So his manifesto, which was 4 pages long, was called The Inconvenient Truth, just like the Al Gore documentary, for whatever reason. And so in there, he seems kind of, he seems one of those motherfuckers. I think the reason why he surrendered, I'm not sure if he thought he was going to get, like, accolades or people were going to, like, pat him on the back for doing the shit, for doing, like, some kind of service to America or some shit. But I kind of got that vibe. Like, he thought that was going to happen. I'm like, wow, you're even dumber than I thought you were. But yeah. So, I mean, he put his name in it. He put, like, all the, the name of the weapon, like, all of that stuff in there, like, in this manifesto. Like, he's laid it all out, you know what I mean? Now, to their credit, when he first put the manifesto up on 8chan, the moderators did remove it, but by that point, it had already been up for a few minutes, so, like, some of the people that had seen it had already saved it and were reposting it and shit like that, so it kind of got out that way. So this manifesto, even though it's only 4 pages long, which, come on, Slacker, it has 6 chapters in it. And the chapters are called About Me. Well, that's the first one, which, can't wait to find out all about you. Political reasons, economic reasons, gear, that's where he talked about the weapon he used, reaction, personal reasons, and thought. I mean, I don't know. Like, reading those 6 chapter titles just pissed me off for some reason.
I'll fill you up a little bit with some of this.
Because I'm just kind of like, how fucking precious can you be? Like, people really care about your stupid...
You heard what I said? I said, I will fill you up with a little bit of some of this. We're going to have to make a video called that. I'm going to fill you up with a little bit of some of this.
With a little bit of some of this?
Just the end. No.
Oh, okay.
Just part of it.
I mean... But yeah, so for some reason, like, the 6 chapters of this manifesto, like, just the names of them kind of pissed me off. Because I was just like, how fucking precious would you have to be to think that anyone cares about your stupid 21-year-old idiot opinions? Come on now. So in his little About Me section, which is only a paragraph long, he basically goes on about how much he admired the Christchurch shooter, who killed a bunch of people in New Zealand earlier that year. Also, admired the dude we were talking about earlier, Anders Breivik, who killed 77 people in Oslo and Utøya.
Exactly, Zach. You're right.
In Norway. What?
So I only had to put in a little bit. That's all it needs. I had to put the whole thing in.
He had to come. Come in my office yesterday and tell me about some video he was watching about average dick sizes.
Yeah. It's not what I thought it was.
He had to come in and because he was happy that he was now in the top.
And they had in the top, bumped up. I got bumped
2 percentile.
Yeah, I got bumped up. So top 5. Fucking Zach. They even had the gays involved. Okay, you couldn't have any damn self-reporting of how big it was, and they had gay dudes and straight dudes reporting, and they were talking about... Look, I don't want to get into all of this. We got to go back to where you measure and everything, and
you can talk about it after.
We'll talk about it
after we finish talking about the mass shooting.
Zach will remember all about this
and all of the people that died.
Yeah. We got to talk about serious shit here.
That's what I'm saying.
Serious shit here.
This is what happens when we drink on the show.
Yeah, I don't even have a wig on.
You haven't worn a wig for a long time. I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh my god.
That's how drunk I am right
You
now.
must be really drunk.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so basically he had the same motivation as those 2 mass shooters that he brought up, and like I said, he admired them very much. Obviously it was a little bit different. The dude in Christchurch was targeting Muslims. The dude in Norway was targeting socialist children, actually, because he killed a bunch of kids at a camp. But he was into that. So he was basically saying that the Hispanics were invading Texas, which is a hilarious statement.
The Mexicans are invading Texas.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. tell me you don't know anything about Texas history without telling me you don't know anything about it. Like, watch it, dude.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Well, no, you tripped over
Yeah, but I didn't break
Bambi's plate.
I didn't break it, though. I was looking for this one.
Oh, okay.
Michael Caine.
Oh, okay. Look,
Michael
a rare
Caine.
treat. He's gonna put the Michael Caine wig on
Yeah.
and start talking like Michael Caine or Willy Wonka. That works too.
Okay, go ahead.
It looks slightly less like Willy Wonka, but it does kind of look like. It needs to be a little bit flatter to be like Michael Caine because it was kind of.
Michael Caine in the hand.
His was kind of like flat like that. That was a great Halloween costume. That was a couple years back.
Are you fucking him?
Yeah. No, he said, "Is he fucking?"
Is he fucking you? Yeah.
I was gonna say you kind of switched it around there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So he's talking about how cool all of these mass shooters are, and basically is saying that he's defending his country from cultural and ethnic replacement, shitting on Democrats, that too. And he's basically this was a little weird too. His shit seemed a little unfocused, gonna say. Like, I get where he's coming from and I get where these ideas where he's coming from, but it's a little bit all over the place. Now, he's saying that the government has been taken over by unchecked corporations, which, that's true.
Yeah.
But he pretty much universally blamed the Democrats for that.
Yeah, the Republicans are doing that too.
Which, like I said, he did blame a couple of Republicans,
Yeah.
but he thought and he was a registered Republican.
No, it was about what and what. They were both involved in that.
And so he registered as a Republican in 2016, so he could vote for Trump. And but yeah, he mostly blamed the Democrats for some reason, even though they're both kind of doing it. But so
another problem with this line of thinking is that they think that it's new because the UN was doing it. The United States federal government was doing this shit way back in the fucking 1800s, early 1800s, with all the Irish immigration and all the Italian immigration. They were bringing them in here. We needed people. And you wanted to keep fucking in the big cities on the coast, like New York, Chicago. You wanted to keep the cost of labor down. I mean, that's true. The place was run by robber barons, and it still is. It's still run by robber barons. They don't want you in a situation where you're rare and special, where you can fucking get involved in something like a labor union and start asking for fucking $30 an hour. Because you did that shit, and they moved all that shit out to China. That's where the car industry
is. Because, God forbid.
You get paid.
Has
yeah.
money to live on
God
and have a nice life.
God forbid you get paid. Yeah. So
we want to pay
to
some Chinese 10-year-old.
Yeah, right.
10 cents an hour.
So there's something to what he's saying. It's just that he's pretending that it's new. They just outsourced. They outsourced that.
Like
shit
I said, this
to
kid,
NGOs doing it.
This kid strikes me as some child who just like saw some shit on YouTube.
Yeah, and just threw this shit together.
And
overnight.
then just kind of threw this shit together. Because here's another thing. Look, everybody, I don't care what side of the divide you're on. Pretty much everybody knows that corporations have too much power in government, right? I mean, we can pretty much all agree.
I think they are the government at this point.
That's what I mean. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that, whether you're left or right or whatever. So, good job there. Also, I thought this was kind of strange too, is that he also was advocating. Now, he was worried about, economic deprivation and job loss. Which, again, that's a valid concern, but only for white people, like not other people that lived in the country, which seems a little shitty.
Yeah, like there's not enough pie to go around.
Yeah,
there's always enough to go around.
Of course there is.
Yeah, there's always enough to go around.
And the shitty thing about it is I kind of feel like, what a lot of people will do, and that's what a lot of this, the kind of racial tensions and stuff like that, is like people at the top like to foment divisions between races, stuff like that, because then they can just do whatever the fuck they want, because you guys are just fighting over scraps.
Yeah, you can't fucking...
They could afford to give everybody shit.
They don't want us ganging up on them.
Right, and that's why they do it.
What they're doing.
That's why they do it.
And
so
there's something to what he's saying. He's thinking that, well, if you let non-white people in here, there won't be any jobs for white people. That's not how it will go.
That's not how it works.
What you do is you control immigration, but you also force these people to produce products here. And you bring the industrial base back. that's also, you got to have that to have national security too. You can have China making your war material. You can have fucking Russia making your war material. It has to be made here. If not, they can cut off your war supplies and you can't fight them. So it's got, everything's got to be made here.
That's what I mean, and that's
there'll
not
be enough jobs for everybody.
Like just targeting random ass Hispanic people at Walmart.
They got nothing to do with that.
That's
shit.
not. Yeah. They're just trying to make a life, man, just like you are.
Yep.
You know, they're just trying to get money like you are. They're just trying to pay their mortgage and raise their kids, just like regular ass people.
Yeah.
The problem is that, you know, corporations and stuff like that, it behooves them to have the cheapest labor possible.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay people in unions. They don't want to pay, you know, they'll pay illegal immigrants like under the table.
Yeah,
because they know. So that the only solution is to hold them accountable.
You gotta hold them, right.
It's not just regular ass people. They don't have anything to do with it.
If he really wanted to do what he wanted to do, what he should have done is educated himself on really how economies work and what's been going, and actually gotten the Mexicans on his side, and then fucking say, look, we got to get an industry back here in the United States.
That's what I mean. I kind of feel like that's what you should do.
That's the smart way.
All us broke ass motherfuckers, no matter what race you are, we're all in the same fucking boat, right?
Right.
Y'all all get together and stop crying about like this race and that race and this gender and that gender.
Not really an
issue.
It
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Like we're all just regular ass people trying to get by. Like it's people with shit tons of money that are controlling everything.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you got to target because they're the ones that are controlling.
They're the ones that are doing it.
We can't control anything. We're just like little peons. Yeah. You know? Why like shooting other peons?
And another thing
that's really not going to accomplish.
And another thing he's worried
anything.
he's worried about all this border jumping. Those same corporations don't want borders. Those borders are obstacles to them. They want to be able to pick up their operations and move it from one market to the next. If these motherfuckers here start asking for too much money, fuck it, we'll move this operation to an even poorer country, and we'll fucking save $4 an hour off of all this labor right here. You don't want these corporations to be able to ignore borders. So they're too powerful though now. A lot of these things have to be either reined in or dissolved. It used to be here in the United States, the way back in the 1920s, the way the laws was set up, that corporations had to prove that they were for the public good every 2 or 3 years.
That would be nice.
If they weren't for the public good, the United States government could just dissolve them. And really, that's what
I think they should probably bring that rule back.
Yeah, and I think the shareholders all got their money back, but that was the end of that corporation.
And I'm not averse to look, I'm a lefty, but I'm not averse to people making money as long as you're not fucking people over.
You got corporations in here, their whole job is to destroy production.
Yeah.
That's not capitalism.
No, of course not.
That's destroying wealth. So yeah, when you have situations, it's called vulture capitalism. Yeah. And once you have situations like that, you got to break that shit up.
Yeah.
But our government is so on the take. They don't work for us. They work for those corporations. And that's just got to stop. Well, the only thing that will do that is a populist uprising. And if you have a populist uprising, it always happens. Happening in Venezuela right now. The governments try to suppress it. They do it through assassinations, character assassination, everything. Anything they don't like, that's what you try to put into power. Because you're trying to break the will of an imperial government. It's not even a federal government. This is a fucking empire. It stretches across into other countries. This thing's abusing other countries, mostly our allies in Europe. It's not good. It's not good. And it'll end. It's ending soon. It's ending now. But we'll see.
I'm just saying, this kid, and he also, oddly, which is not usually something you see, because he considered himself a right-winger, but it's not usually something that you see on the right, is advocating for UBI, Universal Basic Income, which actually I advocate for as well. It doesn't have to be enough to live a luxury lifestyle, but just enough, you know what I mean, to get by on. And then you can have a job to supplement it or whatever. I think that will do a lot to help people out. You know what I mean?
The thing is, though, is that the right is the right from television. I
don't watch television.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. It comes through the news that way and propaganda. I'm on the right, and I everything I've heard, other people on the right would say no. UBI is what would have to happen because the corporations that run the place don't employ anybody anymore. So they have to pay you. If you don't, then you can't afford their products. You know what I'm talking about?
That's what I mean. It's probably going to get to that
And it's
point.
because we don't live in a capitalist society anymore. It's mutated where capitalism and the state have fucking fused into one thing. It's not healthy. But if you're going to run it like this, you got to give people free money.
Yeah.
Because their jobs are gone.
Yeah, which, like I said...
Now, will that work long term? I don't know. Probably not. Because that's kind of like what the Soviet Union was, and it slowly
It would depend on
ossified.
how it was implemented, but...
Nothing's permanent anyway.
No, and like I said...
Everything a government does 30 years later is irrelevant.
Yeah.
That might buy you some time. This is going to have to fall down because the debt involved, the economy doesn't work. It doesn't work for people. It works for the very top 1%.
That's why it's still going.
That's why it's going. But it doesn't work for anybody else.
I'm just saying...
I predict a fucking populist uprising, a dissolution of the empire, and the state's economies skyrocketing. As soon as the feds are gone, then that means the South can now drill oil. And we can now do our own international fucking trading with other countries. It'll get a lot better. Because really, the federal government's a parasite. It's not making wealth. Not really. It's stopping wealth.
But the point I was trying to make was that the kid, he's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of had like an inkling of some shit. But the fact that he would just target regular ass people just going about their day at Walmart, and it was August, so a lot of them were buying like back to school supplies, like for their kids and stuff like that. And why you would just like randomly shoot them? Most of them were like older people, like moms and grandmas and stuff like that. It's just like why you would target those. Like, what is that? That's not helping anything. Like you might think you're sending a message about, you know, ooh, these immigrants like coming into the United States and taking our jobs or something like that. You're just falling for the same stupid rhetoric that you think you're against.
Yeah.
That's why you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Duh. So it's, you know, like I said, he's only 21 and he's obviously not that bright. So I don't really get what he thought he was accomplishing. And like I said, the vibe that I got from him was that he was kind of like, I don't know if he's necessarily proud of it, but I think that he thought that he was like somebody who's going to like pat him on the back for it or something like that. Yeah, go you for like defending the United States from this immigrant invasion or whatever the fuck like he thought he was doing. And I'm just kind of like, you are not seeing the big picture.
He was rapidly forgotten.
Yeah, and honestly, like...
This was forgotten a month later.
Which is kind of sad in itself.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that I had kind of forgotten about this too. Like, so I can't really, like, shit on other people. But I had kind of forgotten about this too, but somebody recommended it, like, for a show topic, like, a long time ago. And then it finally, like, won in the poll. Yeah. But I had kind of also forgotten about it, crazily.
Yeah, this dude was a fucktard who was closer to the point was Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. He was correct in a lot of the stuff he did, but totally incorrect.
Well, he was smart. But also kind of dumb.
Dumb, okay?
So smart that it kind of went around and became dumb again.
His bombing campaign didn't help his cause. And had he waited...
It never does.
No. It'd have been better had he just written a book. And he would have done a shit ton of damage to him.
Why not just do that?
Yeah, and then had he waited just a few more years, Alex Jones would have appeared on the radio, and he could have gone on there. And then years later, he just would have been part of that scene. That, hey, man, these oligarchs run the country. It wasn't just him saying that; other people were. But he actually had the background.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah. And Kaczynski actually had the background to deliver that message, coming out of Harvard University, and he had the background to put out a good argument. But he shot himself in the foot with violence. Never go to violence.
It never works the way you think it's going to. Like any of this, because this kind of domestic terrorism,
it never works.
Whatever it is that whatever message it is that you think you're getting across, the only people that are cheering you on are chuds on 8chan, okay?
Yeah, and then
who are not going to do anything.
And then the average person doesn't know what you're talking about or never hears about it.
The average person is just fucking horrified by you, and it's just like, what the fuck is this dude's problem? Right. And just thinks you're a monster. Yeah, and that would go for Ted Kaczynski, too. He actually had a compelling message. All right? That the United States was an oligarchy. It's basically what he said. It's a high-tech oligarchy. And they're going to genetically engineer human beings eventually. There's a lot of shit that, right out of Blade Runner, And he was reading papers from these think tanks that were saying that. So he wasn't pulling out of his ass. It's just that as soon as he started launching them damn bombs, his credibility vanished. Yeah, because now you're just a nut. Now you're just a nut. And even if you had valid points,
Yeah.
no one cares
Nobody
about
cares.
that now because you're a
you've-
fucking nut.
Now you've soiled the valid
You
points
killed
you had.
innocent people.
Yeah, and you soiled the valid points you had. So now other dudes have to work 3 times hard to say, no, what he was talking about was right. Oh, what that guy said?
That's
so you fucked it out. You fucked up the
you've
argument.
doubly fucked it up.
Yeah, you fucked it
Because
up.
now, even if you did have good ideas,
Yeah.
no one can come out and espouse those because now it's, like
him?
that lunatic that bombed everybody.
Yeah, right.
That lunatic that shot everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, so you're really shooting yourself. You're shooting yourself
Yeah.
in the foot and in the dick.
Yep. When
It's just dumb.
When it
all
comes to
around,
things
it's
like
dumb.
politics and economy, violence is really not the answer until it's the last draw. You're in the fucking French Revolution. People are fucking starving. You just can't
Yeah,
take
it's
it
like the
anymore.
last fucking resort.
Yeah, that's the very last. And really,
Because it's not effective.
it's not effective unless everybody is in mass suffering. Okay? And it doesn't get to that. It usually only gets to the point where violence is the solution. By that time, the state is so broke and so poor they can't resist the revolution. They don't have an army.
Right, exactly.
So that's the time. Because they don't have an army. They don't
But
have an army, they don't
obviously,
have police.
we're not at that
You're not at
stage.
that stage, right.
So just
Right.
going around killing a bunch
Right.
of random grandmas, buying their grandkids school supplies at Walmart
Right.
in El Paso, Texas,
Right.
is only going to get everybody hating your
Yeah.
fucking guts and not listening
Right.
to a single word you have to say.
Switch on over to look at what's happening in Venezuela. They hit that point yesterday. They don't have an army. The army doesn't back them. So nobody believed that election. They can do what they want now because they're not in a valid. Their government has no validity. Nobody believes in it, and now it's the time. You're going to see how that goes. I don't believe Maduro is going to survive. He'll probably just leave the country, but if he doesn't, he'll end up at the end of a rope. It's like the French Revolution there now.
But so, Crucius, his whole thing... Okay, so like on the one hand, he's like, well, I'm not really advocating killing all non-white people. Wink, wink. But I think that the U.S. should be separated on race lines, and he's against like race mixing also, because of course he is.
Yeah.
And then, like in like the next paragraph or so,
Yeah.
he's encouraging people to plan similar shootings like this.
Yeah.
So he wanted
Yeah, good
this to
luck.
be, well, like I said,
Yeah, good
because,
luck.
well, now he was bouncing off a couple of other, and there were a couple of other racially motivated, like 3 or 4 more racially motivated, like motivated by the same shit he was motivated by, that, like, as far as manifestos
Yeah.
go, like in the year or two following this. So it did work to some extent. And like I said, I'm not minimizing the damage because that's lots of people. That's dozens and dozens of innocent people that were killed. But it's just kind of like, I think that they think of themselves as this big, large movement or something like that. And it's just not, because look, 99% of the people in the world are just not down with this.
No.
Like, you just go around shooting innocent fucking people, including children and old ladies and shit like that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be down with that. They don't give a shit what your cause is.
Too many whites and Hispanics are in the same family.
That's what I'm
We don't
saying.
relate.
It's like, yeah, like when you're killing...
You're gonna kill your own family members and shit.
That's
Yeah,
what's
right.
fucked up, and I kind of
Yeah.
feel like that's why a lot of this times doesn't work, because it's like, you know, even if like, you know, for example, like the dude that targeted like Muslims, or the
Yeah.
dude that targeted blacks or whatever, it's like, hey, you know, my best friend is a Muslim, or
Yeah.
you know, it's like, what the fuck? Like, nobody is gonna
Yeah.
advocate that unless they're a complete fucking psychopath.
In this state, here in Florida, in the scene that we're in, the goth scene, I'd say probably almost 1/2 of all the guys we know, half of them have Hispanic wives.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
a lot of the goth guys, when you look at them, they're actually Hispanic. Because there's like Cubans, and there's so much crossover, it's hard to tell. You know?
because we don't
there's
really
such a-
think about
we
it.
don't
It's
think
like
about
you
it,
don't
yeah.
really ask about it
There's
generally.
there's a Hispanic look to half the people here. I mean half the white people are kind of having a Hispanic look to them, because and they have Spanish names, because we've just been living side by side and marrying each other since the 1600s. Yeah, this has been going on a long time. But dudes like this, I don't understand how he doesn't know this, and he's in fucking Texas. What kind of
Of
neighborhood
all
is he from?
places.
Of all places. Yeah.
This, like I said, this kind of shit is just mystifying to me.
Yeah.
Because look, I grew up in stupid redneck ass Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida, which is redneck as fuck.
Yeah.
My elementary school and my junior high in the 80s, the 70s and 80s,
a lot of Hispanics, yeah.
Hispanic kids, black kids, Indian kids.
Yeah.
And, like, nobody batted an eye.
No.
Like, it wasn't a thing.
No, and Mexicans and Hispanics in this area, they're redneck as fuck. Cowboy boots, cowboy hats. They work on all these farms. I'll go down to the Mexican restaurant, the real Mexican restaurant here, the Mexican store, go in there and eat with them, and they're coming in working on the fucking farm. They're just working dudes. They're just normal
We
guys.
go to that Mexican restaurant sometimes, and we're the only people speaking
all the white
English.
people in there.
We're the only white people in there.
Yeah.
Well, that happens when we go to that Indian restaurant, too. We're the only white people in
And
there.
it's funny, man. I'll go up to go pay the bill, you know what I mean? And they'll get out of the way to let me go first. And I'm like, no, get the fuck up there. You all in line, man. Like, you know what I mean? Let the white man in first. Man, stop that shit. You don't work for me. I'm not your boss. You notice that?
Or they're afraid you're gonna hit them. Or I don't know.
No, they're all here legally. They're all here legally. They're on work permits.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of...
Yeah.
Because, like I said,
and they're not from Mexico.
It's rural
actually.
around here.
They're not
a
from
lot
Mexico.
of them are not.
They're from more south. They're from, like, Nicaragua and El Salvador,
I
San
don't
Salvador, El Salvador, places like that.
It's just, you'd be surprised. And, like, we live in a super rural...
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of white rednecky people here, too.
They got Guatemalans in there and shit.
But there's a lot of Central American and South American.
Cowboy as fuck. They're rednecks.
Yeah. So it's... I
right
don't understand... I don't know. Ever since I was a kid, and I think too because I grew up, my grandparents, my grandfather more than my grandmother. My grandfather on my dad's side was like super racist, N-word this and N-word that, like pretty much my entire childhood, and you know what I mean. My dad's kind of like that too, and I was just kind of like, man, what the fuck? Like and the weird thing about it was my dad's best friend was black.
Yeah, there's a weird thing. We talked about this before.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, and it didn't
funny.
make any sense to me. Like, even when I was a little kid, I'm like, is your best friend black? Why are you N-word this, N-word that?
Yeah.
And it's just, and my grandfather was like that too. And he once told me for real, like, if you ever brought a black person home, like I'm dating them or a friend or something, I would shoot them on sight. I'm just like, really, Grandpa, really?
What's funny
He's from Tennessee.
My dad didn't think any of that shit was cool.
It's not cool.
He was a guy of the '60s from Mississippi.
I didn't think it was cool even when I was a little kid.
But what was funny is that, remember when I was a little kid, a lot of his friends would fucking go out of their way to let each other know how racist they were, like they were fucking bragging about it. What it was like virtue signaling about how white they were. But here's the thing.
Is that the only thing they have to be proud of?
But here's the thing. A lot of them, when you looked at them, were mixed.
Of course they were.
They were mixed, yeah. So I think it was just trying to, I don't know.
A lot
of them you could tell were a little bit black.
I kind of feel like
that's... a little bit black, then you got to prove that you're more white than everybody else.
If that's really all you have, like, for your accomplishments.
My dad didn't fall for that shit.
Because I kind of feel like that's what sort of happens is that people that don't have anything going on, like they're not talented in any way, or they don't have any work accomplishments, or they're not cool people or anything like that. Yeah. So it's like that's all they have to fall back and it's like, well, I'm whiter than you are. Okay. Yeah. Yay, good for you. Yeah. It's like it really doesn't mean anything.
Those were poor guys.
Like I said, they're kind of at the bottom of the ladder, and I kind of feel like there's a certain kind of mentality where, and I've encountered it a lot. I'm not like this, but I know a lot of people that are, and they're just kind of like, well, they're kind of at the bottom of the heap, but it's like as long as they have somebody else that's lower in the heap than them that they can shit on, then that makes them feel better about themselves. Yeah, and that's a pretty crappy fucking way to live. But I know a lot of people are like that. It's like, well, as long as there's somebody below me that I can lord it over, then whether that's a different race or whatever it is, then it's just kind of like that makes them feel better about themselves because they don't have anything to feel good about themselves otherwise.
My take on it from Mississippi, and this is around Laurel, Mississippi. That's where they have a whole program about Laurel, Mississippi. Now this is fucking Jones County. They had movies about Jones County. Okay, fucking because Jones County fought the Union and the Confederacy. All right, fucking. They didn't
like nobody.
Yeah, he didn't like nobody. And Newton Knight, who was the leader of that rebellion, had a white wife and a black wife. It's a fascinating story. What was the name of that movie? It's a good movie about it.
It was called The Free State of Jones.
The Free State of Jones.
Woody Harrelson was in it.
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
We reviewed it, I think.
Yeah. So my dad's side of the family's from Free State of Jones. We got Jaspers in our fucking... And there's a Jasper County down there and a Jones. But it was a mixed rebellion of white sharecroppers and freed slaves, or escaped slaves too. But some of them were just freed people, freed slaves. And it was whites and blacks fighting the Union and they fought the Union first, then they fought the Confederacy because they realized that they were dying for plantations. And the plantations were sucking up all the money. It made sharecroppers poor.
Well, yeah, they figured it out.
So getting rid of slavery was a fucking priority. And half of Mississippi was trying to get rid of it for a fucking 100 years. Slavery was not popular in Mississippi, and that's where most of the slavery was. But it was banned in half the counties. And there was a lot of racial intermixing in Jones County and in Mississippi. Segregation happened after slavery to try to stop the interbreeding. Southern culture is far more fascinating than Hollywood lets you know. But a lot of my dad's friends were politically, they were white. Socially, they were white. But you looked at them, you could tell they were a little bit mixed. All right? And everybody sounded the same whether they were white or black, pretty much. My dad and all his friends sounded like what you know as the Hodge twins. You know the Hodge, those two black Marines? They sound just like that, even though I think they might be from Alabama, I think. I'm not sure. But they were just like that, and they sounded like that. And a lot of my dad's friends were just a little bit lighter than them. But they were considered to be white. But DNA wouldn't say so. Well, there was something about those guys. They wanted to make sure that you knew that they were on your side, because there was a huge racial division. After the slavery happened, a race war broke out between the whites and the blacks. So people who were kind of mixed sided with whites. It's where the power and money was, but the numbers weren't there. Whites were a minority, pretty much, in the South, in certain counties. Depends on what county it was. And the United States is a fucking medieval country, basically, compared to Europe. Our central government is not central, really. It's more like the EU. It's like a federation. And each state is made up of counties. And each county can be very different from another county. It's like something out of Middle Ages. And that's really what's helped us, really, because it's hard. You can't take this place over. You couldn't have a dictator for long. No way to apply any power on him. Too many checks and balances.
Well, like I said, I kind of feel like that's why dudes like this, I mean, obviously, you know, he killed fucking 23 people and he destroyed all those families' lives and shit like that. But it's like whatever he hoped to achieve by that, he's never going to achieve that. So I don't really know. Like I said, so like we were saying before, I don't know what the point of this racially based terrorism is, because this country is so racially mixed.
And it always was.
And always has been.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you hope to accomplish by, I'm targeting Mexicans, or I'm targeting Jews, or I'm targeting
They
black
don't know.
people,
They're not being taught history.
or whatever. It's just kind of like, look, everybody like has like friends, family, stuff like that. It's like, why are you, you're killing people that are like people that I love. Like, why should I listen to you?
Even in the town of Salem, up in Massachusetts, back during those Salem witch trials, if you looked at all those names, most of them sounded like white people's names. But if you actually looked into the details, half of them people were Indian. And there were a lot of black people in Salem Township. A lot of so it was never lily white, really.
Yeah, it's never as white as it looks. On
White dudes would come here,
TV.
but women wouldn't come. So they'd have to marry Indian women when they got here. Or black women. They did that too. And it was not really a thing. That shit became a thing after slavery was abolished and during all Jim Crow stuff. That's really where it got more racist. It sounds crazy.
Honestly.
It sounds crazy, but it got more racist after slavery.
Yeah, which
it wouldn't make sense, but just go fucking talk to Bass Reeves.
I mean, not saying like slavery was pretty fucking racist, obviously.
It got worse, though.
But, yeah, it didn't get better after it was abolished. It really didn't. Not for a long time.
No, because during the time of slavery, if you were a freed black person, you were free. You could do whatever you wanted. You could marry whoever you wanted. If you want to get married to a white person, you could do it. If you were black and you wanted to be a cop, you could be a cop and arrest white people. That's what Bass Reeves did.
You still got shit on.
You got shit on a little bit, but fucking you could still bring in bounties and shit like that. Bass Reeves said after fucking slavery ended and when fucking in his own words, as soon as that Jim Crow segregation happened, he couldn't arrest white people. It was too dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a whole show about Bass Reeves. He was a badass.
And that's just across the board.
Yeah.
Slavery ended and a race war immediately broke out.
Tammy says, "LOL, my talent for tonight is being white." Ta-da!
Yeah, you white.
Yeah.
You white.
Well, I kind of feel like the people that go on and on about it, because remember what we said about like these white supremacists and skinheads and stuff like that, that I always knew like always looked like some genetic throwaway.
Yeah.
It does seem like the people that crow the loudest about it are people they don't have anything else going on. Like they don't have any other talent for anything or no other life accomplishments or anything like that. That's all they got. That's all they got. I'm a white person. Yeah. Doesn't that count for anything? Not really. I'm sorry, it really doesn't. We gotta have a little bit more. Gotta have a little bit more than that.
Racial identity politics is a fucking dead end. It won't help anybody. Your race is that's just your background. Everybody should be proud of your race, but that's not a fucking something you use against somebody else. It's not.
I mean, ideally, it should not be.
No, that doesn't mean anything about who you are.
No.
You're judged as an individual. You know, they've got cool people. They got cool people of all colors and fucked up people of all colors.
That's what I mean. It's just kind of like, look, everybody's just a person. Everybody's an individual. I don't care what fucking color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what anything.
We hang out with people.
You be cool.
Yeah.
I'll be cool.
The regulars in our scene.
Easy. Just be cool.
The regulars in our scene, they're mostly all cool and they're all different colors.
Just be cool.
And we all get along.
How hard is that?
Yeah.
Just be cool. Kind of mind your own business.
Yeah.
I don't know why people find that so difficult. But yeah, so this fucking chode is unfortunately still alive. As I said, he pleaded guilty because they said on the federal level that they wouldn't give him the death penalty, which I guess he didn't want. But like I said, he seemed proud of it. He's like, yeah, I was totally targeting Mexicans. I drove all the way, like he said, you know, and he had the manifesto out there. So obviously he was proud of what he did. So, you know, yeah, good for you, bud. Yeah, so he got 90 consecutive life sentences.
Damn.
So obviously he's never getting out.
Yeah.
But like I said, the state of Texas, that was federal. Yeah. State of Texas is like, we think we're going to prosecute him on some shit too, and we are absolutely going after the death penalty. So because they know he doesn't want it.
Yeah, I give him the death penalty, yeah.
So, yeah. And honestly, I'm not sure where I stand on that because I think the death penalty might be too good for him.
You want him to sit around and suffer?
I want him to suffer.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And hopefully, some big muscular Latino guys in prison
gonna ream that ass.
will get hold of him and do horrific shit. I don't usually advocate that kind of stuff, but in this case, I think it's warranted.
That dumb motherfucker.
I think it's warranted.
He's
you know, they have every right to be mad.
He's probably in there. He's probably locked up with them, sucked up to them dudes. Oh, I didn't do that. No, they made all that shit up. It didn't happen.
They're like, we know what you did.
He's probably like in a relationship with one of them.
You little skinny white bitch. We're gonna get right up in that booty. Like I said, I don't usually advocate that kind of shit, but honestly, whatever happens to this dude made me mad. And it's just kind of like whatever happens to him in prison, you know, go get him, boys. I'm just saying.
The dude didn't know American history, was listening to bullshit on fucking the internet. Random randos fucking talking shit. And they stirred his ass up and got him to believe something that wasn't true. And he swallowed that shit hook, line, and sinker and thought he was going to make a difference. He's going to have a one-man race war and everybody's going to fucking help him. He hasn't studied the history. He hasn't studied the history of dudes that did that. All you got to do is just look at all the other shooters and what happened to them.
Yeah, you know, did anybody celebrate, other than, like I said, other than some chuds on 8chan, did anybody, celebrate any of them? No. No,
and it won't spread to other shootings. They don't understand the logistics. These dudes don't have any training.
I mean, there are copycats, but it's, like I said, it's isolated.
If that shit actually worked, then the dude who would have got that shit done would have been fucking Charles Manson. If anybody could do it, it'd be Charles Manson. Charles Manson couldn't get that done. He couldn't start Helter Skelter. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's
we're gonna start Helter Skelter. No, that's not how it works. And it's because they don't have any training. They don't know anything about history.
Also, they're kind of stupid.
Yeah, they're dumb. They think revolutions are something that are kind of like organic. That if you do it, other people will do it. No, that's not usually how it works.
No one's gonna do that, bro. Nobody's gonna walk into a fucking Walmart and blow away like old people and children.
If an enemy superpower wants to start a revolution inside a country, you have to get in there with a bunch of special forces guys and contact people who have been beat up by that government. Then you train them. And then you start pumping a lot of money into them and you get them to conduct operations over a period of years. Years. This isn't some shit you pull out of your ass because you're inspired. No, it's really like, it's a grind. All right? To start a insurgency is what he's talking about. And it requires lots of money. Okay? And, you know, when he's not thinking of the logistics. Okay, so the whites are going to wipe out all the non-whites. How much ammunition is that going to take? How many years is that going to take? You know what I'm talking about?
You know,
that's going to take millions and millions and millions of rounds.
And that's even like predicated on the idea that most whites would want to do that in the first place, which they don't.
Let's just say all the whites say, yeah, let's start doing all the white men. Let's say, yeah, let's say that all the able-bodied ones, which might be 1/3 of them, okay, because some of them are too old, some of them are too young. Let's say all of them. So it's 1/3 of the whites. That would be like what? 30% of the population, maybe 25% of the population, something like that, maybe 20% of the population trying to kill off the other, what, 60% of the population maybe?
Good luck with that.
Something like that. How long is that going to take? Just with small arms. In other words, AKs and AR-15s.
And that's assuming that those people aren't going to fight back.
Right, and assuming nobody's going to fight. And assuming the U.S. Army doesn't get involved. This is a huge project he hasn't thought about. It doesn't get done that way. Revolutions happen when countries are very weak, where everyone is suffering and unhappy with the government. The military is starting to disintegrate. That's when they happen. And the military joins the revolution. Guys throw down their fucking uniforms but take their weapons or their tanks back home, or whatever home state they come from, and turn that into the National Guard. All right, and then usually it's not really like what happened to the Soviet Union. It wasn't that armies helped collapse the Soviet Union. It collapsed on its own because everybody stopped working for it. Nobody believed in it anymore. That's kind of the norm. They have all this glorious ideas of glorious revolution where guys in uniform are fighting each other. That's not how it happens. It looks like a mass exodus, mobs, and people not showing up to work. And then the fucking money collapsing, money vanishing, shit like that.
Well, honestly, something that I've noticed that's kind of indicative of the psychology of mass shooters, not all of them, but a lot of them seem to have an overinflated self-importance.
Yeah.
And this guy seemed to have that too. I mean, the fact that you'd even write a manifesto before you did, like, anyone gave a shit about your worthless opinions.
They're going to go back and study your work. They're going to go back in time and study your work.
What did this genius mean when he said this and that?
Yeah.
I mean, that takes an amazing amount of narcissism to even have your thoughts go along that track. So I think that
the only one
you see that a lot with these mass shooters. They really do think that, and you saw it with, Elliot Rodger. I know that was a different motive, but you kind of have the same thing. It's this narcissistic, self-aggrandizing, I'm going to do this and the world's going to see it and everyone's going to pay attention to me and they're going to like hear my message and, they're going to listen to what I'm saying and all this other kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like, the world doesn't work like that.
Yeah. The only manifesto I know of that actually was like a decent read would have been Kaczynski's. But then even with that one, he has some good ideas. He's sourcing it out of think tank papers that he's reading and the way corporations do things. So there's some truth to it. But he's also arguing from the premise that these dudes are really intelligent and that they're extremely competent and that they are going to get this done. This fucking technotronic fucking takeover, and where they're gonna they're making replicates, okay, like out of Blade Runner, or they're doing shit like Tyrell Corporation. And the thing is a lot of these rich, real powerful people, they're kind of incompetent, and a lot of those companies that were doing that kind of stuff are probably out of business by now. And you know what I mean? It's just
Well, a lot of rich people don't have to be competent because a lot of them came from money.
Yeah,
because that's how you kind of make money.
Right, yeah.
You have to have money to start with.
Right. And
so it's not like they ever had to like figure shit out for themselves.
Right. So some of these ideas that these big corporations come up with, they're kind of a threat to mankind. But the chances of them actually being able to get it done, nah.
That's what I don't really worry about, honestly. And because, like I said, nobody can really predict because there's just all kinds of crazy contingencies that nobody can predict. Yeah. So it's like there's really no point in like worrying about stuff like before it happens. You know what I mean?
You can't predict.
I'm like, the time to worry about shit is like when shit's actually going down. Don't worry about it beforehand. I got enough stress in my life. I don't fucking need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just in the past 6 months, what's happened in the U.S. history, you couldn't have predicted any of that. A lot of that shit was just random.
That's what I mean. A lot of shit is random.
You kind of knew maybe somebody might take a shot at Trump, but you didn't know. You would think that maybe he would have been killed, but that didn't happen. He survived, and then all of a sudden he comes out of it fucking with more believers than before. Who would have predicted that? Fucking the news wouldn't have predicted that. Who would have predicted the whole Kamala Harris thing? You know what I mean? It just none of this could have been predicted because the people who are running this shit aren't really running from a real tight plan. They're just kind of making this up as they go along.
Well, everybody is.
They're reacting to just shit that happens.
Everybody is. There's nobody in the world that has enough power
to
control how shit happens.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, if you have like a fuck ton of money, if you're a billionaire, obviously you have like a lot more power than the rest of us idiots. But you're still...
Even those guys aren't that
good.
You're
still kind of like still a slave to fate, to contingent, to shit that's like way out of your control.
Yeah.
You know, because there's billions of people on the planet. You can't control what every one of them do. You can't control what nature does. You can't control shit like that. So it's just kind of like we're all kind of at the mercy of that. So there's really no point in
they're also kind of all at the mercy of public sentiment.
That too.
Public sentiment can turn against them and all of a sudden they'll go, well, I guess we can't do that, go down that road. You know what I mean? It just...
Yeah.
You know... They'll know what we're doing, you know.
That's what I mean. So it's just kind of like... So to me, it just seems pointless to try to predict things. It's just a waste of time. Honestly, the best thing to do is just kind of chill out and just kind of watch how shit happens. Like, watch your ass, watch your back.
Yeah.
You know, just... But don't worry about it because, like, worrying about it isn't going to do any good.
Definitely trends. It's trending towards the end of this and the beginning of something else. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know the timeline. The conditions are there, but it hasn't happened yet. Just like you could say, well, it hasn't rained in a long time. Conditions are there's going to be a forest fire, but I don't know where it's going to start. I don't know if somebody's going to throw a cigarette or if it's going to be a road flare or a lightning storm.
It could be anywhere.
It could be anything. You don't know.
It'll probably happen, but we don't know where or
It could probably happen, but it also might rain. You didn't predict that, and it rains, and all of a sudden, okay,
now it's okay.
Okay, yeah. So,
like I said, you never.
That's what
Nobody
they're doing,
knows.
right?
So it's just kind of like as a person that is struggling with has struggled with anxiety like my whole entire life. I've really, as I've gotten older, I've tried to be like, look, I can't control this. It doesn't do any good to worry about it because it'll probably work out okay. Yeah. It's just because usually it does, and it's just kind of like, you know.
I will tell you this, and this is what this dude's thinking. He thought that there would be like some kind of race war or civil war, kind of like that movie that we saw, Civil War.
Yeah.
Where you got all these fucking uniformed or semi-uniformed dudes trying to fight over Washington, control the Washington, D.C. When we reviewed that movie, I said that was a great movie. Problem is that shit's totally unrealistic. When civil wars happen, civilians fight each other. The army may or may not be there because new armies form. And they're definitely not going to be fighting over Washington, D.C. Usually breakaway republics make their own capital in their own land. Any disaster that would happen here in the United States would be local. You would experience it as a local phenomenon. So I'm here in Florida. If a civil war or some bullshit breaks out, I got nothing to do with Washington, D.C. I give a fuck of what's happening in Washington, D.C. I don't care about what's happening in Lake County. You know what I mean?
Well, and most people would just be worried about their immediate area.
The immediate area, right.
And this country's massive.
It's because it's a massive area.
Like, it could be possible for all kind of crazy shit to be going on in the city that's like, 100, 200, 300 miles away, and you don't know anything about it.
You're only going to be able to control what's in your block, in your house, and in your fucking... And what the vibe is there, what the political situation is there, whatever, what the economy is going to be like in your county, and that's the way all civil wars are. I don't think there's going to be one like in the movie Civil War. It's going to look like something like that happens. It's going to be kind of like what's happening in.
He didn't make that movie to be specific. He made that to be a generalization of
what
like an alternate timeline or what you might see in that kind of like alternate situation.
Right, yeah.
He didn't want it to track onto like an actual real kind of thing. He was just kind of like which, and in a way I think that's better because you're making it more general so more people can be like relate it to their own situation. You know what I mean?
Right. I thought it was a good movie. But like I said, it was inaccurate in some ways. They wouldn't be fighting over Washington, D.C. They wouldn't care what was happening in Washington, D.C. That would be just a little forgotten city that didn't have any money or power by the time that shit happens. By the time that shit happens, that's just a bunch of monuments up there. That's not really where the government is.
Washington, D.C. is very small.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, and that would just be where monuments are. If this, for instance, just an example, if the South broke away, the fucking capital would probably be in Dallas. You know what I mean? They wouldn't care what was happening in Washington, D.C.
That's
Texas would be.
That's kind of where this motherfucker... I meant to say that he's from Allen, Texas, which is like right out... It's a suburb of Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah, it'd probably be Dallas.
That's where he was from. But like I said, he lived 650 miles away from Allen.
I would say, well, maybe Miami or Orlando. The thing is, it's not defensible because there's too much water around it. It'd be easier to have it... Be better, safer to have it more inland. I would say a place like Texas. Big, strong state like Texas. You know, probably be Dallas. Something like that, or they might make a new city out in that area. Be better just to make fucking Dallas capital somehow. I don't know, outside Dallas.
I hadn't really thought about it.
They would just make it. They would probably make it the capital like they did with Washington D.C. That was pulled out of their ass. They'd probably just make something like that.
Well, yeah, because
out in Texas somewhere.
Well, I mean,
because there's got to be a neutral area.
Washington D.C. wasn't the original capital. The original capital was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They wanted to move it into a more politically.
Well, they wanted to move it somewhere
area
that wasn't really in a state, so it's just like so they couldn't like be accused of favoritism or anything like that. So can I before we wrap up?
Go ahead.
Because we've talked so much about the fucking shooter, I thought it would be nice to actually name the fucking victims because hardly anybody ever does that. And as I'm going down the list, you will see how many of these people were older. Like, this dude was just going around shooting. I don't know if it was just because that was the demographic that was at Walmart at that time of day or whatever the fuck. I don't even remember what day of the week that day was. But it was almost all older people. But yeah, so two of the victims, Andre Anchondo and Jordan Anchondo, they were younger. They were 23 and 24, respectively. There was a 60-year-old man, Arturo Benavides, was killed. Leonardo Campos, who was 41. Angie Englesby, who was 86. Maria Flores, 77. Raul Flores, who was 83. Guillermo Garcia, known as Memo, he was 36. He was the one that was shot at the time and then didn't die until 8 months later from complications. Jorge Garcia, he was 61. Adolfo Hernandez, 68. Alexander Gerhard Hoffman, who was 66. David Johnson, 63. Luis Alfonso Juarez, 90. Maria Eugenia Legarreta Rothe, or I guess I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. 58. Maribel Campos Loya, 56. Ivan Filiberto Manzano, 46. Elsa Mendoza Marquez, 57. Gloria Irma Marquez, 61. Margie Recard, 63. Sarah Esther Regalado Morial, 66. Javier Rodriguez, 15. Teresa Sanchez, 82. And Juan Velasquez, 77. So as you can see, a lot of them were older people, as I said. So this fucking stupid-ass 21-year-old just going in a fucking Walmart.
Shooting up people he doesn't even really know what the fuck he's doing. This is
They're
all
just
in his
fucking
imagination.
Walmart.
Yeah.
They're in fucking Walmart.
Yeah, shooting up Americans.
Yeah.
Because he thinks they're Mexicans.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, based on how they look. And he doesn't know American history, man. Fucking Mexicans have been doing badass shit for the United States going way back to fucking World War I, World War II. What's he talking about? Young
dudes are idiots. I will die on that hill.
They've been here forever.
Like,
they're just another one of the ethnic groups.
Y'all just don't do anything until you're old enough to figure shit out. Come on, until you're at least 35 or 40. Yeah. Come on now. Like, y'all don't know shit. I know you think you know everything, but you don't. You don't know anything.
It's ridiculous.
I know you watch some fucking YouTube video and think you're a fucking
you're
expert on everything.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But yeah. This motherfucker, man. And honestly, there were a couple after this as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was one in 2022 in Buffalo, New York. That was not targeting Hispanics. That was actually targeting black people. That was like at a grocery store, I think. Like that dude just went in there and started shooting.
The original 13.
Started plugging black people.
The original 13 colonies. Yeah, there were a lot of people from the UK. You know, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. But a lot of times the women were Indian. Yeah, more people started to fucking pour on here later as it got safer. White women started to come here. But even the original 13 colonies weren't as white as you're thinking they are. You had a lot of Indian allies in there. There was shit going on between the French and Indian wars. And then during the Revolutionary conflict, getting the independence that went on for a long time. That went on all the way up to fucking 1812, really. If you actually look at it. The War of 1812, really, when all that shit was, the British decided to leave once and for all because they just got sick of us. We didn't win any battles, man. We just wouldn't stop. This was never really some kind of white bread country. It's just that the government...
I don't know where people got that idea
The
from.
government and its laws were kind of the final fruition of English common law. It was everything English people wanted to have true. It was kind of a fantasy come true. Especially the Constitution, being able to say what you wanted to do, having whatever religion you wanted to have. You could have guns. Normally, only nobles could have that back in the honky motherland. So they were making every man a king. Was part of the thing that they were doing. It was a good idea. It's still a good idea. Still a good idea.
I'm still a big advocate.
Then later on, the United States became an empire, started swallowing up the rest of the continent. And during that phase, you had all kinds of Indians and Hispanics that started to get incorporated. All this stuff about stealing Indian land and fucking... Each Indian tribe had its own destiny. But during most of that time, like especially during Andrew Jackson's... The whole Andrew Jackson's Trail of Tears things, the deal was he was telling these Indian tribes that you're either going to... If you're inside the borders of the United States, you're going to have to become an American citizen. There can't be two countries or one country inside of another. If you accept American citizen, you become an American. If not, you got to go out to Indian territory. Take your country out to Indian territory. And some of them did that. But actually, a lot of them just became American citizens because a lot of them were half Irish or Irish, but straight up Irish. A lot of them.
Although even to this day, a lot of the tribes have their own reservations. And they have their own laws on those.
Yeah, well, what happened later on, we started to expand westward.
Yeah.
Well, we told them that they were like, hey, wait a minute, you told us we were safe here. So they went around them. They became reservations. Now, some of them got ripped, and the reservations got smaller and smaller.
Yeah, they did.
But their population wasn't very big, too. So now they own casinos. They're rich, a lot of them. All right. Now some of the ones
because they're kind of the only ones that are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
In some
so
states.
they're trying to break them off.
Like in Florida, there's huge casinos here, but they're all owned by the Seminole tribes.
But when I was in the Army,
they own Hard Rock, I think.
But Native Americans have the highest service rates of any ethnic group in the United States. When I was in the Army, man, especially if you're in the 101st Airborne or 82nd Airborne, Native Americans, they all want to go there. And they're proud to go home, and fucking the dad come with my son, the paratrooper. They're into that shit because it's a warrior culture. Native Americans are warriors. Their men are either hunters or warriors. Well, you can't go on the Indian warpath anymore. Where are you going to get your war experience? It's going to be the U.S. Army. You can't hunt the buffalo anymore. They're all in zoos and farms. So it's just the way the Indians got defeated by fences, land rights, and train tracks. And by the time cars came, that was it. No more Indian lifestyle. Not for anybody. Because you had white men that did that too. Lived with the Indians. Mountain men. Shit like that. Fucking trapping beaver. But that's all gone. Even in the Jeremiah Johnson days, trapping beaver, man, it didn't pay. I did more research on that. By the time Jeremiah Johnson was involved in that shit, there was no money in it. You were basically a bum living on the range. Yeah. But, jobs came. So, progress, man. Things happened.
Well, and you got to roll with changes. Shit changes all the time. That's really the only constant is change. It doesn't do any good to like sit there and complain. Well, back in my day, we did things this that. Well, we don't do shit like that anymore. Like adapt or shut up. You know what I mean?
Soon as fucking cars get involved, man, the Cowboys and Indian thing, man, that you can't maintain that. You can't maintain that. There's cars now.
Like I said, shit happens.
Shit happens.
It's just it's no one's fault really. It's just shit moves on.
Technology destroys everything, but it also gives us everything.
Yeah, like I said, I don't like. Yeah, I get that people are upset about it, but I don't really get people that just like piss and moan about it. Like technology, because honestly, shit's so much better.
And technology actually gave us more and did more change than any government ever would. It's just
and much quicker,
much faster. Yeah.
And I think that that changes are gonna like speed up like exponentially
it's
going forward.
Got to think about it.
We can't keep up because like laws and stuff can't keep up.
Those old-fashioned centralized governments were made in a time where it took months to walk or to ride from one end of the country to the next, and to make these laws, it took a long. Now the government is on the internet basically. It's a bunch of laptops and cell phones connected together. Shit can be done a lot faster, but you don't really need them. Corporations can do a lot of shit that governments do, like give you a product that allows us to talk to you. You don't even need the government to go to the moon anymore. You got fucking companies that could put rockets up and get to the moon and come back. So this is the greatest time to ever live.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, not every little thing is better, but it's just kind of like I wouldn't go back. Yeah, there's some stuff that's shitty.
You go back in time,
but it's just kind of like I don't.
You can go back and look at ancient Egypt, ancient Rome. All the good shit it did really wasn't the government. It was the technology and the abilities that they had. That's what all the good shit.
Well, honestly, like technology invention is like really the most powerful.
Yeah, more powerful than
human tool. I think that's honestly the only thing that's kept us alive this long. Obviously. Yeah. We would have died out a long time ago. Yeah. If we hadn't figured out how to make all this stuff to like make up for our shortcomings.
So you also don't want to you don't ever want to have a government that's going to try to cut you off from technology or any kind of production. They're trying to kill you when they do that.
Well, like I said, I don't know. Yeah. I think that cat is out of the bag at this point. I'm not really sure because it's so decentralized and so.
Yeah, and if anybody tried it, they'd immediately be punished.
Yeah, so I don't really worry about it. Like I said, you know,
you could never shut off the internet.
I mean, you know, there could be like some shit where like some aliens came and fucking did a whole like EMP or some shit like that. Yeah. But it's just like
it would be back though.
That's what I mean. I don't really like worry that much about it. Yeah. Like everything's.
What was it we were going to talk about? Oh, no, we're going to talk about the end of the. I'm going to tell Zach about dicks.
Oh, hold on a second. Phantom says humans suck. I mean,
no.
I don't think all humans.
No, they
suck.
Mostly do good shit.
There's honestly, I think most humans are fine or are inoffensive. Yeah. It's just the shitty ones that you hear about, and you hear about them a lot because, like I said, hearing about shitty people is kind of entertaining and interesting. I mean, I'm the worst. You know, because I talk about like shitty people all the time.
Most people are okay,
but most people are okay. Most people are not going to hurt you or bother you or anything like that. Like I said, most of them don't really care and don't involve you at all. So it's just kind of like it's just that because shitty people are so visible and so loud, usually you get like an overinflated sense of how many of them there are. You know what I mean? Thank you very much, Zach. Gave us another super chat. All right. I do feel like social media has kind of screwed up communication and social skills among people my age, which kind of sucks when it comes to dating. Maybe, but the thing about it is that it might be that's just kind of the way. Well, one, it might just be temporary, and two, that might just be the way that shit is going now. Because I'm sure that people complained. It's just like, oh, this new telephone, this is gonna screw up. You know, people bitched about that back then.
Well, what he's saying is they're losing their face-to-face game.
Sure. But they said the same thing about the telephone when the telephone became prevalent. So it's just, like I said, I never wanted to be one of those old people.
The data does say that their relationships have suffered. But that's just because that's because they're not trying. All right, but I think it'll work itself out.
Everything
eventually works.
Everything does.
I mean,
and people that grew up with it will adapt to it
eventually.
You know, and it'll just work itself out. Like I said, I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, you're basically living in a time of like similar to the invention of the printing press, where it's destroying a lot of fucking old institutions like the churches and shit like that. And the church was the government back then. You know, but that's what you're seeing. This is kind of like the printing press.
And to be honest with you, you know, I grew up way before the internet, and I've always been an introvert. So for real, like the invention of the internet, like email and texting and stuff like that was like a fucking godsend. I was like, oh my god, you mean I don't have to talk to people face to face or like talk to them on the phone? Awesome. It's the best thing ever. And like I said, I grew up when you had to do that. And I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. It's like so much better now. So much better. I would rather like interact with people in writing rather than having to like talk to them face to face. I hate having to talk to people face to face. I really do. Unless it's like I've known them forever, but seriously, it's like really stressful for me. So, so I don't know. I'm just coming at it from like I said, an introvert.
All right, so you want to go ahead and shut it down?
Well, were you going to talk about the dicks or what?
Oh yeah.
Can I go pee first? Because I want to hear the dick thing, but I have to go.
You can hear it.
But I have to go to the bathroom first. So
All
you
right.
might have to like just sing or talk about something else for like 2 minutes.
In the manosphere. They got this fucking like saying called 666. That all these women are looking for dudes that are at least 6 feet tall, got a 6-pack, and got at least a 6-inch dick. Got a 6-inch dick. Now it was the reason why they said 6 is because most people believe that the average size of a Caucasian male is about 6 inches. I watched the whole video on it, and dude went on for about 20 minutes about how they didn't have any standardized that the studies that said this didn't clearly specify like the measuring technique, like were they measuring it with like at the top of the base of the dick was pushed all the way into the dude's bone and then to the tip, or are they talking about the underside? How are we measuring? So a lot of that shit wasn't standardized. He goes on. It's a funny story where he's telling the whole thing. But the guy said that a new study has come out that's far more standardized, that involved Caucasian men. They could not self-report. In other words, somebody else had to measure it. So because they were saying the motherfucker would self-report. He'd always self-report himself as a fucking inch longer than he really was. Dude's trying to add an inch. And they had straight dudes, they had gay dudes. And the gay dudes, they had to measure each other. And then it was verified. And then they were saying, well, the thing is it's a different size every time we measure. Which, of course, if anybody, any man who's had a hard-on know that, not all hard-ons are equal. It depends on how hard it is, there's going to be some variation, Especially if it's something like chemically induced hard-on, if you're fucking on Viagra or fucking, maybe taking Trimix or some shit like that. But they got a new average. All right. So some of you white boys might be happy to hear the fact that the average is not 6 inches. The average is 5.1 inches. Much smaller. Yeah. So they said that if you're 6 inches,
so don't feel so bad.
If you're 6 inches or bigger, for Caucasian males, you're in the top 10%. They say it's kind of like a bell curve. Most of them are in a certain area.
Everything is.
What's that?
Everything is.
Yeah, it's like a bell curve. You're in the top 10%, which would make me in the top 5%. So I'm fucking. They came out that story. I'm fucking huger. I got huger.
Like I said,
my ego got bigger.
He had to run in my office in the middle of my workday and tell me all about it.
I'm in the top 5% for white males.
Your dick's the same size it's always been.
Yeah.
But now he's happy because his dick is like now bigger than more people.
It's even bigger than it looks on video.
Than more people
it's even bigger than
thought
it looks.
he was.
Yeah. So that was the story.
That was like pretty funny. I missed most of it, but you told me some of it earlier. It's okay.
You heard.
I didn't really miss anything. No, I can't hear shit in there.
What I thought was funny is that the gay guys were measuring each other. The couples would marry each other, measure each other, and they reported that it was different every time.
Yeah, I was finding it kind of hard to measure because like you said,
it's constantly changing, right? Yeah.
Is it like a half chub?
Yeah.
Is it like a whole?
Yeah,
like how, you know what I mean?
But the
again, it seems like something you shouldn't get like overly
there's been times
concerned about.
There's been times I've looked down, she'll have her hand on it, and it looks like it's on somebody else. It's like, God damn, that's me. Hold on, let me get a camera.
I gotta take a picture of this.
Damn.
I'm gonna send this to people.
Damn, yeah, I gotta share this, bitch.
Don't send it.
Look at the size of
that. Don't send it to people. You probably have without telling me.
No, you haven't seen me snap a picture of it without you knowing.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
What's Zach say about that?
He just said, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Then he said, "Well, I guess I'm lucky then."
Yeah. That's
With
funny.
a little thing. Yeah. Tom just had to tell us. He was so excited, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, he just had to come in and tell me.
I get bigger every
Just
day. I get bigger
randomly.
every day.
Just randomly. I mean... Yeah,
Oh,
Zach said, I assume if you're standing up or laying down also influences it. Yeah, that's what I mean. It just seems like it's such a nefarious measurement.
According to this guy who actually read the test, he said that the gays were the most most technical about how they were going to measure this, and they were they were really talking about the inconsistencies. They were focusing on, wait a minute.
That sounds like some shit I would do.
Yeah, you gained 1/10 of an inch, or 0.2 of an inch. It wasn't like that yesterday. That kind of shit. Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of like
depends on how fucking excited you are, man.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things where they always tell you if you're going to measure your height, like do it first thing in the morning, or
Right.
like how much you weigh, because that's like your most accurate. Although, what does accurate mean when it like changes all the time? There's no such thing as accuracy, you know. What's accurate when it's just different, when it's fluctuating?
Because these are men, they're trying to fucking get it down to numbers. How big is it? What is the measurement?
So they can tell other
But the thing
people.
is, it's constantly moving. It's constantly moving.
X inch.
It's like
penis.
it's changing.
Which makes me better than X percent of the population.
Yeah, they got to lay it down. They got to lay it down.
Well, they have to be better than somebody.
Well, no. Some dudes are going to fall short. That's how it is. But they just want to know the order. You know what I'm talking about?
Where they fall in the
order.
ranking.
Yeah, the order of the phallus.
Whether they'll get a gold, a
what
silver,
is the spectrum?
or a bronze.
What is the spectrum? Right, yeah.
That's so funny. Like the obsession with like ranking everything is like so funny.
They want to know the hierarchy of the cock.
That's like so funny to me.
Yeah.
Like what difference does it make? None.
It's competition between men, I guess. I don't know. They just want to know. They want to know how they stand.
It
they want to
really
know where
is.
they are. Men want to know. Wasn't that something that they said about fucking one of the magazines? People magazine? Or is it People Want to Know? That's what it was.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tom.
Well, advertisement for People magazine when we were kids. People want to know. Okay, shut it down.
I don't. All right, so it's 10:15.
Yeah.
So I guess it's getting to be that time. Hopefully we didn't go too. We got pretty sidetracked on this show. I kind of felt like that would probably happen, which is kind of sad because this is kind of like a fucking terrible, topic to be talking about. But yeah, it always happens. We can't help it. We don't have a script, so we're just kind of all over the place. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it anyway. I did impart some information, hopefully, over the course of that drunken 3-hour rambling. So yeah. So Friday night, it's Wednesday, right? Yeah. So Friday night, we're going to do our sidetrack show. I don't think we're going out Friday night, are we?
Probably not.
No, we're probably not. Okay, so we'll be able to like hang out.
You guys are going to try to help me with crypto.
You guys. Oh, that's right.
I opened up fucking crypto, and I got a crypto wallet and stuff.
You told me to shut it down, and you weren't.
Yeah,
done.
Okay.
Okay.
I still haven't figured it all out. It takes a while for the crypto to get there.
He came in. He came in my office today.
Got
The
$300
dick
in
thing was
crypto.
the dick thing was yesterday.
Yeah.
But today he comes in my office and tries to get me to figure out
How to start crypto.
how to start crypto,
I got it
and I
all
was just
fucking-
like, "Why? You're asking the wrong person,
Yeah.
man." It's like
Okay.
I'm kind of busy right now, but like I didn't know how to do it. I'm like, figure it out. But yeah, so we will be back Friday doing the sidetrack show, which will be kind of like this show, but without the main topic. You know what I mean?
We'll
We'll
come
just
up
be
with some
drinking
stuff.
and talking about. Yeah, we always do. We never have trouble coming up with shit to talk about. And like I said, I like going out Friday nights, but honestly, I like doing the show Friday night because I don't have to, because I can drink as much as I want. I don't have to worry about getting dressed and going anyplace. You know what I mean? Like afterward, because it's cool to just like kind of hang out and then go to bed afterward. But yeah, so we'll be here Friday night for the sidetrack show. Hopefully you guys can all join us for that. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us this evening, and thank you all for your super chats. We will see you guys again on Friday night. Good